In the midst of life's unpredictability and the constant flux of our modern world, the ancient wisdom of Stoicism offers a beacon of light, guiding us toward inner strength, peace, and true wealth. Stoicism, more than a philosophy, is a practical toolkit for navigating the highs and lows of existence. It's about building a mindset that isn't just about enduring life, but thriving in it no matter the circumstances. This is what building a Stoic mindset is all about. And it's this journey we embark on today. Imagine facing life's challenges with unwavering resilience, where setbacks don't derail you but strengthen your resolve. This is the heart of Stoic resilience, a quality that goes beyond mere toughness. It's about cultivating a mental fortress, enabling you to face life's storms not only with perseverance, but with a calmness and clarity that turns obstacles into opportunities. The Stoics didn't just tolerate adversity, they embraced it as a means to fortify their character. But resilience is only one facet of this transformative philosophy. Equally crucial is the art of acceptance, understanding that some things are beyond our control. In a world obsessed with change and improvement, there's profound wisdom in recognizing and embracing the immutable. It is what it is isn't an expression of defeat, but a powerful mantra of liberation, freeing us from the shackles of unchangeable circumstances and directing our efforts towards what truly matters. Now consider wealth, not the fleeting riches amassed through material gain, but a wealth of character, a richness of spirit. The Stoic path to wealth isn't about accumulating possessions or status, but about enriching your inner world. It's a wealth that can never be taken from you, a treasure that deepens with time and experience. A complete Stoic guide to becoming wealthy isn't just a roadmap to financial success. It's a blueprint for cultivating a life rich in virtue, satisfaction, and profound contentment. But how does one become invincible in a world that is inherently vulnerable? The answer lies not in seeking external power, but in harnessing the strength that already resides within. The timeless wisdom of Seneca, through his 7 transformative letters, doesn't just educate, it awakens. It's about transcending beyond the ordinary, about becoming impervious to the external chaos and conflicts. This invincibility isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering oneself, your emotions, reactions, and perspectives. As we navigate through these insights, remember, a Stoic mindset isn't developed overnight. It's a journey of continuous growth and learning. It's about observing your thoughts, challenging your perceptions, and aligning your actions with your deepest values. It's a path that demands discipline, courage, and most importantly, wisdom. So, as you delve into the depths of Stoic philosophy, prepare to transform not just how you think, but how you live. Embrace the principles of resilience, acceptance, wealth in virtue, and inner strength. Build a mindset that doesn't just withstand the tests of time, but flourishes in them. This is your guide to building a Stoic mindset, a journey to the very core of personal mastery and timeless wisdom. Picture a seasoned sailor on turbulent waters, navigating through the raging storm with an unfazed demeanor, calmly adjusting the sails. That sailor isn't devoid of fear, rather, he has developed a certain resilience, an innate ability to dance with the tempest. This vision symbolizes our lives, filled with uncertainties, crises, and stormy days. Yet, just as the sailor remains steadfast, you too have the capacity to cultivate an unwavering spirit rooted in resilience. Resilience, as its Latin origin suggests, means to jump back or rebound. It is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt well to change, and keep going in the face of adversity. It's the metaphorical anchor that keeps the sailor steady amidst the storm. For some, resilience seems innate, as if they were born with a natural ability to withstand life's tumultuous tides. For others, it appears to be a learned craft, meticulously honed over years of experience. Yet, regardless of its origin, one cannot understate its value. In a rapidly changing world marked by chaos and unpredictability, resilience is not just beneficial, it's vital. It's the dividing line between those who crumble under pressure and those who rise above it. But how does one cultivate this profound quality? Can the principles of ancient philosophy, seemingly distant and unrelated to our modern lives, guide us in developing unwavering resilience? Enter Stoicism, an ancient philosophy for a modern problem. Stoicism, birthed in the vibrant forums of ancient Greece and nurtured in the corridors of Roman power, is more than just a philosophy, it's a way of life. Rooted deeply in understanding the human condition, Stoicism teaches acceptance of things we can't change and focuses on improving what we can control: our actions, beliefs, and feelings. Stoicism is often misconceived as a teaching of emotional suppression, a school for the heartless. In reality, it advocates for a better understanding of our emotions, directing them in ways that are in alignment with reason and virtue. Think of it not as the absence of emotion, but as emotional intelligence in its highest form. To the Stoics, every challenge presents an opportunity to practice virtue. Every setback is a lesson in wisdom, and every joy is to be enjoyed but not overly attached to. They understood, perhaps more deeply than many of us today, the transient nature of existence and the futility of resisting the inevitable. If resilience is the anchor, Stoicism is the craft of forging it. The very principles Stoicism embodies, acceptance, understanding, emotional detachment, and the pursuit of virtue, are the bedrock of resilience. In a world of fleeting pleasures and mounting challenges, Stoicism serves as a compass. It steers us away from the superficial and directs us towards the profound. Where others see calamity, a Stoic sees an opportunity for growth. When faced with adversity, a Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" but rather, "What lesson is life teaching me?" The Stoic approach to life's trials and tribulations isn't about enduring in silent misery, but rather navigating through them with grace, wisdom, and inner peace. It's about understanding that while we cannot control the storms of life, we can control our reactions to them. Modern society is flooded with self-help books, motivational speakers, and life coaches offering a plethora of strategies to build mental strength. While many are undoubtedly valuable, few have stood the test of time as Stoicism has. For over 2 millennia, Stoicism has been a beacon for statesmen, scholars, athletes, and everyday individuals alike. Its enduring relevance underscores its profound insights into human nature and the art of living. The teachings of this profound philosophy remind us of the impermanence of life, urging us to focus on what truly matters: our character, our actions, and our legacy. Imagine harnessing the power of Stoic wisdom to cultivate resilience. Picture yourself facing life's fiercest storms with a tranquil mind, seeing obstacles not as impediments, but as opportunities to grow stronger. As we delve deeper into the Stoic principles in this journey, you'll unearth the tools to construct an indomitable spirit, fortified by wisdom and powered by virtue. So, are you ready to navigate the tumultuous waters of life with the steady hand of a seasoned sailor? The voyage into the heart of Stoic resilience begins now. Let's go beneath the surface and unearth the core elements of this invaluable attribute, without which even the most seasoned sailor is but a ship lost at sea. Resilience is often likened to a sort of emotional elasticity, the ability to snap back to form after being stretched, twisted, or bent by life's challenges. But such an analogy might be limiting because it implies a return to an original state. True resilience is not just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. It's about integrating the experience into your life, transforming adversity into a catalyst for growth. You don't revert to your original shape, you take a new form, more robust and more intricate than before. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, the cacophony of life's demands can be overwhelming. Social pressures, professional challenges, personal struggles, the modern landscape often feels like a maze with hurdles at every turn. Add to this the complexities of global issues like pandemics, social unrest, and climate change, and you'll find that resilience is no longer just an admirable trait, it's a necessity. It's the psychological armor that protects us, the emotional intelligence that guides us, and the spiritual wisdom that sustains us. From a psychological perspective, resilience isn't merely the absence of mental health symptoms or disorders, it's the presence of positive traits and coping mechanisms. Psychologists have identified several key components of resilience, including self-awareness, self-regulation, optimism, mental agility, and strong social connections. Studies have even shown that these traits can be developed and enhanced through targeted interventions, defying the notion that resilience is purely an innate trait you either have or don't have. When you turn to philosophy, you find an enriching array of perspectives on resilience. While we are focusing on Stoicism in this discussion, it's worth noting that many philosophical traditions offer wisdom on cultivating resilience. Eastern philosophies like Buddhism teach the concept of non-attachment, which resonates strongly with the Stoic ideal of emotional detachment. Existentialism, on the other hand, presents life's absurdities and hardships as prerequisites for authentic living. These philosophies, in their unique ways, contribute to a holistic understanding of resilience. The narratives of resilience are woven into the tapestry of human history. Take, for instance, Nelson Mandela, who emerged from 27 years of imprisonment with an unbroken spirit and a vision for a united South Africa. His resilience transformed not just his life, but the fate of a nation. Or let's go back a bit further in time to the Roman philosopher king Marcus Aurelius, who governed an empire in turmoil while penning his Meditations, which stand as a testimony to resilience and Stoic philosophy. He faced wars, plagues, and political betrayal, yet his writings reflect an indomitable spirit committed to virtue and wisdom. Finally, let's not overlook everyday resilience. The single parent juggling multiple jobs to provide for their family, the cancer survivor who turns their journey into an advocacy for healthcare, or even the college student overcoming failure to excel in their studies. These are the unsung heroes, the quiet testament to the power and ubiquity of resilience. As we delve into the Stoic principles that follow, you'll notice that each one provides a unique lens to understand and cultivate resilience. Whether you're steering a nation, leading a household, or charting the course of your personal development, these principles offer a robust framework to navigate the complexities of modern life. They give us the tools to not just endure the storm, but to master it, to turn trials into triumphs, and to transform adversity into advantage. As we progress through each Stoic principle in the subsequent sections, these foundational insights into resilience will serve as our guide, enriching our journey towards mental strength and emotional equanimity. The first Stoic principle we'll explore is the foundational concept of discerning what is within your control from what is not. If you've ever caught yourself tangled in worry about the economy, the political landscape, or even other people's opinions of you, this principle can serve as your liberating compass. The Stoic philosophers, notably Epictetus, emphasized the profound but simple idea that our lives are primarily affected not by what happens to us, but by how we respond to what happens to us. Imagine your life as a canvas. While you don't get to choose all the colors, some are handed to you by fate. You do have the paintbrush in your hand. You are the artist of your composition. The Stoics argued that our internal responses, our judgments, choices, and actions are solely ours to govern. This idea could be one of the most liberating concepts you'll ever come across. When you truly grasp this, you unload an enormous burden of unnecessary stress and anxiety. You free yourself from the enslaving chains of external events and opinions. You become, in a very real sense, the master of your own life. Stoicism teaches what's often called the dichotomy of control. Simply put, some things are up to us and others are not. Things like our opinions, desires, aversions, and actions are within our control because they are subject to our direct influence. External events, the weather, the stock market, other people's behavior reside outside our realm of control. Here are some practical tips to differentiate between what's within your control and what's not. Ask the right questions. Whenever you find yourself anxious or upset, ask yourself, is this something I can control? If yes, focus your energy there. If not, then practice letting go. Reality testing. Before investing emotional energy into something, test its controllability. Try to influence it. If you find that you can't, it probably lies outside your control. The so what technique. When fretting about something, ask yourself, so what if this happens? Often you'll realize that even if the undesirable occurs, it's not the end of the world, freeing you to focus on how you will respond. Be mindful. Practicing mindfulness can improve your awareness of your thoughts and feelings, helping you catch yourself before you become emotionally entangled with things outside your control. Now, it's time to put this concept into practice. Take a piece of paper or open a note on your device and draw 2 columns. Label one as within my control and the other as outside my control. Take a moment to think about the various aspects of your life, your career, relationships, health, and even your dreams and fears. Start populating each column with things that fall under them. For example, you can control your work ethic, but you can't control job market conditions. You can control how loving and understanding you are in a relationship, but you can't control how someone feels about you. This exercise is an eye-opener. It's like unloading the heavy rocks from your backpack during a hike, making your journey through life that much easier and more enjoyable. So the next time you find yourself fretting over a negative review at work or worrying about a future event, return to this first principle of Stoicism. Ask yourself what you can control, focus your energy there, and let go of the rest. This simple act can be a game changer, unshackling you from unnecessary burdens and gifting you the freedom to engage with life more fully and authentically. Understanding what is within your control is more than a Stoic principle. It's a transformative life skill. It's your first step towards genuine resilience and enduring mental strength. As we continue our philosophical expedition, the next port of call is the Stoic principle of cultivating apathy or emotional detachment. Now, if the word apathy immediately sets off alarms in your head, conjuring images of emotionless robots or cold-hearted individuals, let's set the record straight right away. In the Stoic lexicon, apathy doesn't mean the absence of emotion, but rather signifies a disciplined management of emotional responses. It teaches us to prevent our feelings from holding us hostage and clouding our judgment. Stoicism argues that our emotions are largely the products of our judgments and beliefs. Change the judgment, and the emotion changes along with it. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic and your immediate judgment is that they've disrespected you, you'll likely feel angry. But if your judgment shifts to a belief that they might be rushing to the hospital or didn't even see you, the emotional grip loosens. Emotional detachment in the Stoic sense means giving yourself the gift of perspective, offering a mental buffer that allows you to think clearly and act wisely, even in the heat of the moment. The utility of emotional detachment in real-world scenarios. Consider the case of professional athletes who miss a critical shot or lose an important match. Rather than wallowing in self-pity or letting anger hijack their performance, they deploy emotional detachment to learn from their mistakes and prepare for the next opportunity. Their resilience, evident in their ability to bounce back, is fortified by their stoic emotional detachment. Or take a look at first responders like firefighters or medical professionals. In high-stakes situations where lives hang in the balance, these individuals practice a form of emotional detachment that allows them to think and act quickly without being paralyzed by their feelings. We can even see this principle applied in the corporate world. Good leaders often have to make tough, unpopular decisions. Emotional detachment allows them to weigh the pros and cons dispassionately and opt for the choice that, although difficult, serves the greater good. Now, let's transform this intellectual understanding into a living practice. We'll do a brief guided meditation exercise, but if you prefer journaling, you can adapt it accordingly. Meditation. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to center yourself. Imagine a scenario where you usually get emotionally triggered. It could be a confrontational conversation, a stressful work situation, or even hearing a piece of news that usually upsets you. Visualize yourself in that scenario, but picture a transparent shield around you. This shield represents your newfound stoic detachment. As the triggering event unfolds, imagine your emotions hitting the shield and dissipating. They can't touch you. You observe them but don't engage. Take a moment to experience this detachment, the freedom it brings and the clarity it offers. When you're ready, open your eyes and take a few more deep breaths. Journaling. Write down a recent event that triggered a strong emotional response in you. Describe in detail what judgments or beliefs fueled these emotions. Now reframe these judgments or beliefs in a way that loosens the emotional grip. Write down how this new perspective changes your emotional response and how you would act differently in a similar future scenario. By mastering the Stoic art of emotional detachment, you arm yourself with an invaluable tool for resilience. This isn't about muting your emotional life, but about harmonizing it. It's like tuning an instrument. You still play the music, but the notes are clearer, more precise, and much more in control. Cultivating apathy or emotional detachment in the Stoic sense is not about nullifying emotions but refining them. It allows us to engage with life not as slaves to our feelings, but as masters of them. A life ruled by unexamined emotions is a ship tossed aimlessly by the sea, but with the Stoic compass of emotional detachment, we find our bearings and set a course that aligns with our deepest values and highest aspirations. Our next anchoring point in this Stoic Odyssey is the paramount importance of virtue and inner character. This principle is quite divergent from many modern societal norms that often prioritize external achievements like wealth, status, or physical beauty. Let's unfold this idea and see how it becomes an indispensable pillar for constructing an edifice of mental resilience. In Stoic philosophy, virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline are considered the highest goods. They are not just abstract moralistic ideals. They are pragmatic tools for living a well-tempered life. Stoics believe that the cultivation of these virtues is the path to eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or blessedness. In a way, they provide a moral compass, a way to navigate life's complexities. Think about it. If your primary focus is on developing inner virtues, your self-worth is far less susceptible to the volatile winds of external circumstances. You're not perturbed by market downturns, shifts in social opinion, or even personal losses to the same extent that someone would be whose sense of value is tied to these external variables. The commitment to personal virtue and inner character acts as a psychological fortress. Why? Because while the world around you is in constant flux, your virtues can be steadfast. No one can take away your integrity, your compassion, or your wisdom. They are yours, and they are unassailable. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're a salesperson, and your value is tied solely to meeting quotas or outperforming colleagues. What happens when the economy tanks or when a new sales strategy fails? Your self-esteem crumbles. However, if you prioritize virtues such as diligence, integrity, and good service, a bad month doesn't devastate you. You have the resilience to adapt, learn, and persist. Another example can be found in the realms of academia or the arts. Those who tie their entire identity to awards, recognitions, or the praise of others often find themselves in an emotional roller coaster. On the flip side, valuing virtues like creativity, dedication, and the pursuit of truth or beauty makes you resilient against the tide of public opinion or the judgment of critics. Moreover, focusing on internal virtues realigns your motivation. You're not striving for a virtuous life because it's a ticket to external rewards. You strive for it because it is the reward. And this self-sustaining cycle of motivation only adds to your mental resilience, making you not only less susceptible to life's slings and arrows, but also giving you a continuous source of fuel to overcome them. Now let's make this principle actionable with a simple exercise. Take out your journal or open a note-taking app and list down the 4 cardinal Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Next, think about your life experiences in the past month. Write down instances where you exhibited these virtues, no matter how small. Also, jot down opportunities where you could have shown these virtues but missed out. This dual approach serves 2 purposes. It reinforces the positive behavior, while gently reminding you of areas for growth. Finally, set some achievable goals to focus on these virtues in the month ahead. Think of them as your personal KPIs, key performance indicators, except they measure the quality of your character rather than external achievements. While the world often urges you to seek happiness in external possessions or social validation, Stoicism invites you to find it in the sanctuary of your inner world. And in doing so, you build a citadel of resilience that no external force can easily breach. The principle of valuing virtue forms the heart and soul of Stoic philosophy and is key to developing unparalleled mental resilience. By turning your focus inwards on attributes entirely within your control, you construct a reliable, robust core that holds steadfast, even when the world around you is in disarray. It's not an exaggeration to say that for a Stoic, virtue isn't just its own reward, it's the cornerstone of a resilient, flourishing life. As we continue our exploration of Stoic principles that cultivate mental strength, we arrive at an idea that can both sober and liberate us: the acceptance of impermanence. While this concept may appear somber, Stoicism uses it not as a grim reminder, but as a liberating truth, one that adds value to our existence and makes us resilient in the face of life's inevitable changes. The Stoic embrace of impermanence. One of the most salient features of Stoicism is its willingness to engage with life as it is, not as we wish it to be. And life, in its purest essence, is a dance of constant change. Nothing remains static, be it good or bad. Understanding this transitory nature allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with a degree of equanimity. Impermanence is not a concept limited to Stoicism, of course. It's an idea that resonates through various philosophies and religions, from Buddhism to existentialism. But Stoicism takes a pragmatic approach, encouraging us to use this understanding as a tool for resilience. If you know things are bound to change, you are better prepared to deal with adversity when it comes knocking. Conversely, This awareness also prevents us from becoming overly attached to fleeting joys, helping to mitigate the inevitable suffering that comes from loss or change. One of the most stirring quotes that touch upon this concept comes from Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor. In his Meditations, he writes, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen, and a violent stream, for as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place, and this will be carried away too." This quote encapsulates the Stoic view of life's fleeting nature, likening it to a river, where each moment is quickly succeeded by the next. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that both our joys and sorrows are temporary, urging us to adopt a balanced attitude that helps us deal with life's unpredictable currents. Imagine the resilience of someone who understands the impermanence of their struggles, who can see beyond the immediate pain or challenge and grasp its temporary nature. This individual is not easily faced by setbacks because they understand that just as good times don't last, neither do the bad ones. Take for instance people who have lost their jobs, only to find a greater calling in the emptiness that follows. Or think about relationships that end, making room for self-growth or new partnerships that bring more joy and fulfillment. Even in the most distressing scenarios, like dealing with illness or the loss of a loved one, accepting impermanence can offer a form of solace, reminding us that our grief too shall pass, and with time healing becomes possible. To embed this Stoic wisdom into your own life, let's engage in a reflective exercise. This can be done through journaling or meditative contemplation, whichever suits you best. List 3 things or experiences that brought you immense joy or happiness. Reflect on their transitory nature. How did you feel when they were over? How did you cope? List 3 challenges or hardships you faced. Reflect on how they changed or evolved over time. Were you able to see their impermanence while you were going through them? Lastly, imagine your life 1 year from now. What are some things that are essential to you today that may change? How does thinking about their impermanence make you feel? Does it empower you to appreciate them more, or perhaps to not cling to them too tightly? The Stoic principle of accepting impermanence offers us a lens through which we can view the world as it is, forever changing. In doing so, it equips us with the mental tools to face life's inevitable ups and downs, making us stronger and more resilient in the process. Embracing the concept of impermanence is like mastering the art of surfing on the waves of change. Each wave has its rise and fall, its own dangers and thrills, but the adept surfer rides them all with the same composed skill, adapting to each one's unique nature. Through the Stoic lens, accepting life's impermanent nature allows us to become skilled surfers, capable of riding high on the waves of joy and skillfully navigating the lows of adversity, all while maintaining our inner equilibrium. In our ongoing journey through Stoic principles that cultivate mental fortitude, we arrive at an especially potent idea, the practice of objective representation. This principle invites us to see the world through a lens devoid of personal biases, interpretations, or emotional charges. At first glance, it might seem like a formidable task, but as we'll explore, it's a pathway to unparalleled resilience and a richly rewarding life. The Stoics believed that many of our troubles stem not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. Epictetus famously said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." And he was onto something that modern psychology also emphasizes. Our thoughts shape our emotional state. Objective representation is a way to adjust the lens through which we perceive reality. It's about peeling away the layers of subjective interpretation to see the bare facts. Let's say you lost your job. The objective fact is that you are now unemployed, which has certain financial and logistical implications. However, labeling this event as disastrous, humiliating, or unfair adds a subjective weight that can lead to emotional suffering and paralysis. Seeing things objectively can have a profound impact on your ability to cope with life's challenges. Consider a relationship breakup. Viewed through a subjective lens, it could be a catastrophe, a blow to your self-esteem, or an emotional death sentence. But viewed objectively, it's a change in your relationship status, indicating that the partnership was not beneficial for one or both parties. This objective framing allows you to analyze the situation rationally, learn from it, and even find opportunities for personal growth or a better relationship down the line. Another example is criticism. If your boss or a friend criticizes you, it's easy to feel attacked or demeaned. However, through the lens of objective representation, you can see this feedback simply as data, information that can help you improve. Once you detach your emotions from the criticism, it becomes a tool for growth rather than a weapon that wounds your self-esteem. Practical tips for objective representation. Pause before you react. When confronted with a situation that triggers strong emotions, take a moment to breathe and distance yourself from your initial reactions. This small pause can provide the necessary gap to introduce objectivity. Ask questions. Interrogate your own thoughts. Is this an objective fact, or is it an interpretation? Are you adding emotional flavor to the situation? Questioning helps you separate facts from assumptions. Use third-person language. Sometimes rephrasing the situation as if it's happening to someone else can offer an objective perspective. Instead of saying, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What happened and what are its implications?" Consult trusted friends. Sometimes our biases are so ingrained that we can't see beyond them. A trusted, impartial friend can help you see the objective reality you might be overlooking. As a hands-on exercise to develop this skill, I'd encourage you to keep a Stoic journal. Every evening, write down situations where you felt strong emotions, anger, sadness, overwhelming joy, and dissect those situations objectively. Strip away the emotional language and see what you're left with. This act alone can be incredibly liberating and eye-opening. Objective representation is a Stoic's scalpel for cutting away the excess tissue of subjective interpretations, leaving behind the clean wound of reality that can heal more effectively. By developing the habit of seeing life's events as they truly are, you not only become more resilient, but also unlock a deeper understanding of the world and yourself. In embracing objective representation, you arm yourself with one of the most potent psychological tools available to mankind. You create a mental stronghold that is hard to assail. It provides a form of mental agility that allows you to duck under the swinging mace of emotional triggers and parry the stabbing sword of negative self-talk. By seeing the world as it is, not as you fear or wish it to be, you gain a stoic calm that can withstand even the harshest storms life may brew. Now we delve into a principle that binds these teachings into a tangible action plan, the concept of willful endurance. This isn't just about surviving hardships, it's about embracing them as classrooms for character development and personal growth. The Stoics didn't shy away from the world's difficulties. Rather, they greeted them as opportunities to apply their philosophy and grow stronger. Challenges, according to Stoicism, aren't just inevitable. They are necessary for the expansion of the soul. Seneca writes, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Willful endurance is not passive resignation, but an active embracing of what is happening. It's standing in the eye of the storm and saying, "Teach me." This act of voluntary acceptance transforms mere survival into a sort of alchemy, where base hardships can be transmuted into golden lessons. Remember that challenges aren't specific to certain people. They're a universal feature of human life. What differentiates us is not whether we encounter difficulties, but how we approach them. A quick glance through history, or even your immediate social circle, will show how enduring adversity, especially when embraced willfully, can serve as a turning point in people's lives. Consider figures like Nelson Mandela, who endured 27 years in prison and emerged not with vengeance, but with a vision for unity and reconciliation. His imprisonment wasn't just time served, it was a period of intense intellectual and spiritual growth. Another example could be of J.K. Rowling, who faced numerous rejections and personal struggles, including depression, before publishing her Harry Potter series. Her story is not just one of eventual success, but of the growth and refinement that came through her challenges. Redefine your relationship with challenges. Instead of seeing them as problems, regard them as opportunities. Change the narrative from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What can this teach me?" Develop a Stoic ritual. Whenever you face a challenging situation, take a few deep breaths and remind yourself of Stoic principles. You can even have a favorite Stoic quote handy as a touchstone to center your thoughts. Practice perspective shifting. In the middle of a difficulty, take a moment to think of a past challenge that you successfully navigated. This temporal shift can often lessen the emotional charge and allow you to apply willful endurance more effectively. Learn to pivot. Part of enduring willfully is recognizing when to change course. Sometimes resilience involves adaptation, and the willingness to pivot can be a result of an open, enduring mindset. The Stoic principle of willful endurance imbues us with a sort of philosophical resilience that goes beyond mere coping mechanisms. It empowers us to see difficulties as fertile ground for inner growth and transformation. We cease to be victims of circumstance and become students of life, ever eager to learn, adapt, and thrive. When you engage with life through the lens of willful endurance, each challenge becomes a sculptor's chisel, striking away at the marble that encases your inner potential. The blows may seem harsh, and at times you may feel close to breaking, but it's through such experiences that the most beautiful and enduring works of art, be it a sculpted stone or a resilient human spirit, are crafted. We've journeyed through various Stoic principles that can fortify our individual souls, leading us to become more resilient beings. However, Stoicism is not merely a personal toolkit for mental toughness. Its wisdom extends beyond the boundaries of the self, fostering an ethic of community and universal interconnectedness. It is this community-focused dimension that we'll explore in our final principle: community and universal brotherhood. Stoicism teaches us to look at life from the vantage point of the cosmic city, the universal community. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius, himself a Roman emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions." The Stoic tenet of interconnectedness is an extension of their emphasis on rationality and virtue. Just as you work to cultivate virtue within yourself, you're also ethically bound to contribute to the virtue and well-being of your broader community. While Stoicism promotes individual resilience through self-control, emotional management, and rational thinking, it also asserts that our individual well-being is intrinsically tied to the well-being of others. Our own resilience is, therefore, multiplied when extended to a collective ethos. If you can help your community navigate through hardship, the community in turn can offer a network of support, resources, and collective wisdom when you encounter personal challenges. This does not mean that you should rely solely on external support, but rather, it suggests a form of resilience that's both internal and external. A resilient community can act as a safety net, and its shared values can be a pillar to lean on during times when even the most stoic individual might waver. Let's look at the examples of great leaders like Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., who were deeply embedded in their communities. Their personal resilience wasn't just for their own benefit, but served as a lighthouse for entire social movements. Or consider the people in your life who make your existence richer and more meaningful. Your close friends, mentors, or even social circles online. Their encouragement, validation, and advice fortify your own mental reserves. How to cultivate community-centric resilience. Engage in mutual aid, from simple gestures like helping a neighbor with groceries to more structured activities like volunteering. Acts of mutual aid bolster community resilience and, by extension, your own. Empathetic listening. Practicing Stoic principles like emotional detachment doesn't mean turning a blind eye to others' emotions. Active, empathetic listening helps build strong relationships. Shared philosophical grounding. Establishing a Stoic circle or philosophy discussion group in your community can serve as a supportive environment for mutual growth and resilience building. Take a leadership role. Leadership isn't about bossing people around. It's about cultivating a healthy community ethos and making collective decisions for the betterment of everyone involved. This notion of community and universal brotherhood serves as a linchpin that unifies the Stoic philosophy into an inclusive whole. Your resilience, while initiated and nurtured at an individual level, finds its ultimate expression in a collective resilience that uplifts not just you, but also those around you. In the words of Seneca, "We are all chained to fortune. The chain of one is made of gold and wide, while that of another is short and rusty. But what difference does it make? The same prison surrounds all of us, and even those who have bound others are bound themselves." And it's within this universal prison that we find our commonality, our brotherhood. Understanding that we're all participants in the grand human drama can make us more resilient players, ready not just to act our parts well, but to elevate the entire performance. So let your Stoic principles serve as guideposts on your personal path, but also let them light the way for others, illuminating a trail that leads us all toward a more resilient, rational, and compassionate world. We've embarked on a remarkable journey through the labyrinth of Stoic philosophy, a treasure trove of wisdom dating back to ancient Greece and Rome, yet as applicable today as it ever was. We have meticulously studied 7 key principles that serve as pillars of resilience in the Stoic worldview. Understanding what is within your control, cultivating apathy or emotional detachment, valuing virtue above all, accepting impermanence, objective representation, willful endurance, and finally, community and universal brotherhood. These principles are not mere theories to be idly pondered, but actionable guidelines designed to fortify your mental and emotional defenses against life's trials. They encourage you to adopt a rational approach to emotional challenges, empower you to differentiate between what you can and can't control, and inspire you to embrace adversity as a teacher rather than a tormentor. At its core, Stoicism teaches you to be the master of your own emotional universe, while also recognizing the value of communal resilience. In the intricate tapestry of life, you're not a lone thread, but part of an interwoven fabric of human experience. By understanding and applying these Stoic principles, you don't just fortify your individual strand, but contribute to the resilience of the whole tapestry. That's the transformational power of Stoicism. It doesn't merely guide you to be better, it encourages you to make the world better by your very presence in it. As we conclude this in-depth exploration, I'd like to extend a heartfelt call to action. Don't let this be an ending point, but rather a commencement. Take what you've learned here and incorporate these principles into the nuances of your daily life. Use the exercises we've discussed as starting points for a daily Stoic practice. And remember, Stoicism is not a destination but a journey, one that requires daily commitment, openness to learning, and a willingness to adapt. So go on, make your daily life a living lab for Stoic principles. Take control where you can, detach where you must, value virtue always, accept life's ebb and flow, see things objectively, endure challenges willingly, and contribute to the collective human experience. Your resilience isn't just a personal asset, it's a gift to the world, a stepping stone to a more rational and compassionate society. The old wise trees have something incredible to teach us. As they stand tall amidst tempestuous winds and heavy rain, they do not argue, resist, or complain. They simply are. They bend, sway, and occasionally break, but they do so with a profound grace, accepting the strength of the storm. What does it mean to truly accept? What strength lies in surrendering, in acknowledging, in seeing reality for what it truly is without the tinted lenses of our expectations, fears, or desires? To accept is not to give up or resign, but to acknowledge the inherent nature of things, freeing us from the chains of needless suffering and angst. At the crossroads of philosophy, spirituality, and psychology lies the profound practice of acceptance, a realm where we are invited to engage with life not as we wish it to be, but as it truly is. In an age of customization, where we can adjust everything from our morning latte to the theme of our mobile devices, the world seems to revolve around our preferences. However, life, in its most raw and unfiltered form, doesn't always adhere to our presets. We encounter roadblocks, unanticipated challenges, and unexpected turns. And in these moments, we often resist, fight, and resent. The dissonance between what is and what we desire can be a source of profound distress. Enter the phrase, "It is what it is." It's a mantra you've probably heard countless times in diverse contexts. From the world of sports to the arenas of business, from quiet meditative retreats to bustling urban streets, these words resonate. They might come across as passive, even dismissive, but beneath their simplicity lies a depth of wisdom that philosophers and thinkers have explored and expounded upon for millennia. At its core, this phrase isn't about indifference or defeat. It's about recognition, recognizing the innate nature of a situation, of an emotion, of a challenge. It's a bridge that spans the gap between expectation and reality. When we utter these words, we're not shrugging off responsibility or giving up hope. We're grounding ourselves in the present, shedding the weight of what-ifs and if-onlys. Throughout history, many have delved into this very principle. Stoic philosophers in ancient Greece emphasized the importance of discerning between what we can control and what we cannot, urging us to invest our energies wisely. Eastern philosophies often echo similar sentiments, guiding disciples to flow like water, to adapt, to find peace not by reshaping the world around them, but by reshaping their perceptions and reactions. It's captivating to realize that while our modern world seems vastly different from the eras of Epictetus or Lao Tzu, the essence of human experience remains remarkably consistent. We have always sought peace, understanding, and a way to navigate the tumultuous seas of existence. And across cultures, epochs, and ideologies, the philosophy of acceptance emerges as a beacon. Yet, understanding the depth and breadth of this philosophy requires more than just nodding at a popular phrase. It beckons a journey through time, thought, and introspection. To embrace the art of acceptance is to weave the lessons of great thinkers, from Stoic philosophers to modern psychologists, into the very fabric of our existence. As we embark on this journey together, let's dive deeper into the realm of acceptance. Through the lenses of luminaries who've graced our world, we'll explore the true essence of acceptance, its transformative power, and the serenity it promises to those who truly comprehend and practice it. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Epictetus. Born into the harsh confines of servitude, Epictetus's life as a slave in Rome would be far from what many might consider fortuitous. Yet from these very confines sprouted a philosophy so profound that its reverberations continue to shape our understanding of acceptance and control to this day. A limping figure, a consequence of his leg being broken by his master, Epictetus eventually gained his freedom. He would later set up a school in Nicopolis, teaching a philosophy that often pivoted on the dynamics of control. At the heart of his teachings lies the profound differentiation between things we can control and things we cannot. This demarcation is not just an observation, but a tool, a compass, if you will, for navigating the often tumultuous waters of existence. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, swirling ocean. The waves crash against the shore, each with its force, rhythm, and direction. You stand there with a bucket hoping to direct the tide. A fool's errand, you might say, and you'd be right. This is how many of us live our lives, attempting to steer the vast and uncontrollable forces around us, inevitably leading to frustration, disappointment, and often despair. Instead, Epictetus would say, focus on the bucket, how you hold it, when you choose to fill it, and where you pour the water, that's within your grasp. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. This quote crystallizes Epictetus's philosophy beautifully. It's not the external events, but our perceptions and judgments about them that unsettle us. The death of a loved one, the loss of a job, or even something as mundane as a passing comment from a stranger, these events in themselves are neutral. They become agents of joy, sorrow, anger, or indifference based on the interpretations we bestow upon them. But here's where it becomes transformative. If our judgments disturb us more than the events themselves, then doesn't it follow that we have the power to choose our reactions? This isn't about deluding oneself or painting a facade of positivity over everything. It's about understanding the inherent nature of events as indifferent, and then recognizing our capacity to decide our response. For Epictetus, the realm of control extends primarily over our own will, our own decisions. While we can't command the weather, we can choose to carry an umbrella. While we can't decide the actions of another, we can decide our response. While we can't always dictate the outcome, we can always control the effort. What's intriguing is how this philosophy is not just a passive acceptance, but an active engagement with life. It's about taking responsibility for our domain, the internal realm of our thoughts, feelings, and decisions. It's about recognizing that while we cannot dance to the whims of fate, we can choose the steps we take, the rhythm we adopt, and the grace with which we move. Adopting such a mindset can be transformative. Consider the daily irritations and stresses that we encounter. Traffic jams, an unkind word, a delay in plans. All these can spiral into torrents of distress if we let them. But what if, heeding Epictetus's words, we paused and asked ourselves, is this within my control? If it isn't, can we then refocus our energy on what is? Our response, our attitude, our next move. In today's world, where we're inundated with information, where challenges seem multifaceted and often overwhelming, the wisdom of a former slave from ancient Rome seems more pertinent than ever. By delineating the boundaries of our control, we don't restrict ourselves, we empower ourselves. We find clarity, purpose, and importantly, serenity. As we reflect on Epictetus's teachings, it's an invitation to engage with the world not as hapless victims of circumstance, but as empowered individuals. ever ready, ever resilient, capable of finding tranquility amidst the storm. Because in understanding what we can and cannot change, we uncover the art of true acceptance, a dance of grace in the face of life's ever-changing circumstances. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Lao Tzu. Glimmers of wisdom often find their source in ancient civilizations, where spiritual sages, in their communion with nature, deciphered the rhythms and patterns of existence. Among such luminaries was Lao Tzu, a mystic whose name translates to the Old Master. Though shrouded in layers of myth and time, his insights form the cornerstone of Taoism, a philosophy and spiritual path that emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, often translated as the Way. Imagine, if you will, standing at the edge of a serene river, its waters flowing gently, moving around rocks and bends with ease, never rushing, never dallying, but always unfailingly reaching its destination. This imagery captures the essence of Taoist thought, for Taoism suggests that life, much like that river, has its currents, its natural flow, and our journey becomes harmonious when we align ourselves with this flow rather than resist it. This brings us to the concept of Wu Wei, a term that might seem paradoxical to many. Translated as non-doing or non-action, it doesn't advocate for inactivity or passiveness. Instead, it is the art of effortless action, of acting without forcing, of letting things unfold naturally, without imposition or opposition. A tree doesn't strive to grow, it simply grows. A bird doesn't struggle to fly, it just flies. Nature doesn't labor, it simply is. This is the essence of Wu Wei. In our lives, when we're constantly pushing, forcing, and striving, we might achieve short-term victories, but they often come at the cost of inner peace and long-term sustainability. Wu Wei encourages us to approach life with a sense of trust in the natural order, to act when necessary, but without unnecessary force or struggle. Lao Tzu's words eloquently capture this essence. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. In a world where change is the only constant, how often do we find ourselves battling these natural shifts? Whether it's an unexpected life event, a sudden shift in plans, or even the inexorable march of time, resisting these changes is like attempting to halt the river's flow with our bare hands, not only futile, but also exhausting. This doesn't imply passivity or resignation, quite the contrary. Flowing with the Tao, practicing Wu Wei, means being acutely attuned to the situation, understanding when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent. It's a dance, sometimes leading, sometimes following, but always in tune with the music of existence. In the context of our modern world, with its relentless pace and ubiquitous challenges, Wu Wei serves as a beacon. Imagine approaching challenges not as obstacles to be bulldozed, but as puzzles to be understood. Consider the possibility of addressing conflicts not with aggressive confrontation, but with insightful diplomacy. Picture a life where we respond not from a place of panicked urgency, but from a space of calm clarity. In embracing Lao Tzu's teachings, we're invited to reconsider our relationship with life itself. Rather than a battlefield strewn with challenges to overcome, life becomes a landscape to traverse, filled with mysteries to understand and wonders to behold. By surrendering to the flow of the Tao, by practicing the art of Wu Wei, we don't relinquish control, we find it in a deeper, more profound manner. We begin to realize that true mastery isn't about dominating our external world, but understanding and harmonizing with it. The wisdom of Lao Tzu, echoing across millennia, is not just philosophical musing, but practical guidance. As we ponder his teachings, we might reflect on moments in our lives where resistance brought pain, where force led to failure, and how, with the insights of Wu Wei, we might approach similar situations differently in the future. The river of life is vast, filled with twists and turns. But with the compass of Taoist wisdom, we can navigate it with grace, understanding, and an inner serenity that remains undisturbed by external tumult. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? Marcus Aurelius. Amidst the ornate tapestry of history, Marcus Aurelius stands as a testament to the fusion of authority with wisdom. A Roman emperor, commander of legions, ruler of an expanse that touched the known boundaries of the world, yet it was in the quiet corners of his tent, often on military campaigns, that he penned reflections that would become the Meditations, a seminal work on Stoic philosophy. Here was a man vested with power and privilege, yet he sought counsel not in the echoing halls of grandeur, but in the introspective embrace of philosophy. Central to Marcus Aurelius's reflections is the idea that the universe operates with a natural order, a logic, an inherent rhythm. For him, everything happens in accordance with nature. Seasons change, stars rise and set, rivers flow to the sea, all part of a grand design, an unfolding cosmic dance. When we resist or rue this natural progression, we find ourselves out of sync, creating internal discord. However, by aligning our will with this grand design, by understanding and accepting its patterns, we find a harmony that's both external and internal. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" This is a profound call to acceptance. But what does this acceptance entail? It's not about passivity or a blithe resignation to fate. Rather, it's about recognizing the unfolding patterns of existence and finding our place within them. It's the understanding that fighting the universe is a futile endeavor, but flowing with it, recognizing its currents and eddies, allows us to navigate life with a serene resilience. Consider the challenges that Marcus Aurelius faced: wars, plagues, betrayals, and political intrigue. In the face of such adversities, it would have been easy for him to succumb to despair or bitterness. Yet his Stoic beliefs anchored him. In viewing challenges as natural occurrences, as part and parcel of the human experience, he didn't just endure them. He used them as catalysts for growth, for reflection, for deeper understanding. From Marcus's perspective, every event in our lives, be it joyous, challenging, or mundane, is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to understand the workings of the universe a little better. When we face hardships, rather than asking, "Why me?" the Stoic approach invites us to ask, "What can I learn from this? How can this refine my character, strengthen my resolve, or deepen my wisdom?" By accepting the impermanence of life, by acknowledging that we are but fleeting moments in the grand timeline of the cosmos, Marcus Aurelius advocates for a life lived with purpose, integrity, and acceptance. Every moment becomes precious, every challenge a teacher, every joy a gift. Acceptance in this light isn't a begrudging surrender, but a powerful affirmation of life. What makes Marcus Aurelius's teachings particularly resonant is their practicality. His Stoicism isn't an abstract philosophy debated in hallowed halls, but a lived experience, tested and refined on the battlegrounds of life. Every entry in the Meditations is a testament to a man trying to live his philosophy, to align his actions with his beliefs, to embrace the natural order even when chaos surrounds him. For us, in the modern age, Marcus Aurelius serves as a guiding light. In a world often fraught with uncertainties, his Stoic wisdom offers a grounded perspective. It reminds us that while we might not have control over the events of the universe, we always have control over our reactions to them. It beckons us to live with authenticity, to seek harmony with the natural order, and to embrace the inherent wisdom of acceptance. As we reflect on Marcus Aurelius's insights, we're invited to see our lives not as isolated events, but as interconnected pieces of a cosmic puzzle. Every experience, every emotion, Every challenge and triumph is a thread in the intricate weave of our existence. By recognizing this interconnectedness, by embracing the natural rhythms of life, we find a peace that transcends circumstances, a serenity rooted in profound acceptance. In life, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Buddha. In the lush landscapes of ancient India, beneath the shade of the Bodhi tree, a profound transformation unfolded. Siddhartha Gautama, a prince who had forsaken his royal heritage in pursuit of deeper truths, attained enlightenment and became the Buddha. His journey, from the opulence of a palace to the austerity of ascetic life, weaves a rich tapestry that has profoundly influenced philosophical and spiritual thought across millennia. The Buddha, the Enlightened One, shared the wisdom that blossomed from his enlightenment through various teachings, fundamental among which are the Four Noble Truths. These truths are both profound and pragmatic, addressing the very root of human suffering and charting a path towards liberation. The first noble truth, dukkha, often translated as suffering, posits that life is inherently unsatisfactory, marked by suffering, conflict, and impermanence. It is not a pessimistic view, but rather a realistic observation that in life, pain, loss, and dissatisfaction are inevitable. The second truth, samudaya, attributes this suffering to desire or craving, illustrating that our attachments and aversions to people, things, and concepts generate discontent. Acceptance emerges as a pivotal theme here. Buddha emphasizes the acceptance of suffering as an integral part of human existence. But how does one find peace amidst this inherent suffering? This is where the philosophy weaves into a practice of mindful detachment. Buddha articulated, "You only lose what you cling to." Herein lies a gentle beckoning towards detachment, not as a cold, emotionless state, but as a mindful recognition and acceptance of the transient nature of all things. When we clutch tightly to people, outcomes, or materials, we are perpetually on a tumultuous sea, swayed by the waves of life's vicissitudes. Detachment is like learning to navigate this sea, to sail with skill and wisdom, allowing ourselves to experience fully, yet without being capsized by the inevitable storms. The practice of detachment is deeply intertwined with acceptance. By accepting the impermanent, unsatisfactory nature of life, we free ourselves from the shackles of undue suffering that arises from clinging and craving. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or denying the pain. It means fully experiencing, understanding, and letting them flow without hindrance, without constructing a permanent dwelling in them. When Buddha speaks of detachment, it's with the recognition that all things are transient, and clinging to them is like trying to grasp at the wind. Possessions, achievements, even loved ones, will eventually pass away or transform. The more we cling, the more we suffer. However, in mindful detachment, we can fully engage with life, experiencing joy, love, and yes, even pain, with a heart that's free and open. This notion brings us to the third and fourth noble truths, nirodha and magga, respectively. Nirodha is the cessation of suffering, achievable through relinquishing attachment and desire. While magga, the path to the cessation of suffering, is outlined in the Eightfold Path, which provides practical guidelines on ethical and mental development to reach enlightenment. Embarking on this path requires a subtle blend of active engagement and gentle acceptance. It invites us to be dynamically present in each moment, to engage with life fully, to drink deeply of each experience, but to do so with open hands, with a spirit that understands the ephemeral nature of all things. Acceptance, then, is not a passive resignation, but an active acknowledgement of what is, without an anxious clinging to what was, or a fervent craving for what might be. His teachings invite us to ponder the true sources of happiness, to examine the roots of our desires, and to contemplate the transient, fleeting nature of all things. Through this, we find a path that meanders through the lush landscapes of deep, authentic living, toward a serene acceptance of life in all its splendid, painful, and ephemeral beauty. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Friedrich Nietzsche. In the rich history of philosophical thought, few figures evoke as much intrigue and controversy as Friedrich Nietzsche. A German philosopher whose work skirted the boundaries of convention, Nietzsche challenged established norms, questioned traditional values, and grappled with the profoundest depths of human existence. With his penetrating insights, Nietzsche traversed areas of morality, religion, and the very essence of life. Among his myriad concepts, one shines brightly as an anthem for embracing the entirety of existence, amor fati, which translates to a profound love of fate. This idea is not merely about accepting one's fate, but deeply and passionately loving it. To Nietzsche, life wasn't a sanitized, curated experience wherein one seeks only pleasure and avoids pain. Rather, he viewed life as a holistic journey, where every high and low, every joy and sorrow forms an integral part of our narrative. I want to learn more and more to see as beautiful what is necessary in things. Then I shall be one of those who make things beautiful, he once remarked. This perspective captures the essence of his love of fate philosophy. It's about seeing beauty in the inevitable, in the necessary, and in the challenges that life throws our way. Life, with its tapestry of experiences, is never a linear journey. There are ebbs and flows, peaks of elation and valleys of despair. Many philosophies advocate for contentment, for finding peace amidst the storm. Nietzsche's perspective, on the other hand, encourages not just peace, but a passionate embrace. It's a call to not only endure life's challenges, but to revel in them, to view them as essential threads in the intricate weave of our existence. Imagine life as a grand, complex piece of music. There are crescendos and diminuendos, swift allegros and melancholic adagios. If we were to remove the challenging notes, the sharp and the flat, the music would lose its depth, its resonance. Nietzsche invites us to appreciate every note, every beat, understanding that it's the entirety of the composition that gives it beauty and meaning. But how does one come to love challenges, hardships, or moments of despair? Nietzsche's philosophy is not one of masochism. He doesn't glorify suffering for its own sake. Instead, he sees challenges as opportunities for growth, as crucibles that forge and refine our character. By embracing all of life, including its adversities, we engage in a deeper, more authentic experience of existence. In the vast expanse of human experiences, it's often the challenges that shape us the most. The losses teach us about value, pain informs our empathy, and hardships carve out reservoirs of resilience. When Nietzsche speaks of a love of fate, he beckons us to recognize and honor this transformative power of challenges. By doing so, we shift our perspective from mere endurance to vibrant, passionate engagement with every facet of life. As we traverse the modern landscape with its unique challenges and uncertainties, Nietzsche's insights become particularly resonant. In a world that often seeks instant gratification, his philosophy invites introspection and a deeper engagement with the entire spectrum of existence. In the end, to love one's fate is to embrace life in its totality. It's about dancing in the rain, not just waiting for the storm to pass. It's about cherishing the journey, with all its twists and turns, knowing that every step, every challenge adds depth, meaning, and beauty to our narrative. Nietzsche's clarion call to humanity is both timeless and timely. As we face the complexities of the 21st century, his philosophy provides a lens through which we can view challenges not as burdens, but as opportunities, not as curses, but as gifts. Through the embrace of life's entirety, through a profound love of fate, we find a path to deeper understanding, richer experiences, and, ultimately, a more authentic, vibrant existence. The desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are the same thing. To hold your breath is to lose your breath. Alan Watts. Alan Watts, a British philosopher, often adorned with a mischievous grin, had an uncanny knack for bridging worlds, melding Eastern philosophical depths with Western intellectual traditions, making the profound accessible and the mystic tangible. Watts, with his eloquent articulation and dynamic delivery, introduced the West to concepts that seemed, at first glance, alien to its empirical and linear mindset. Yet, it was not just a matter of translation. Watts had the ability to weave together disparate philosophical threads into a coherent tapestry that resonated deeply with contemporary seekers. Central to Watts's teachings is a concept that might seem paradoxical: the wisdom of insecurity. At a glance, the very pairing of wisdom with insecurity might appear counterintuitive. In a world that often values stability, certainty, and the familiar, how could there be wisdom in insecurity? For Watts, the relentless pursuit of security, the endless desire to pin down the fleeting and ephemeral, was a mirage. It was not only unattainable but also a source of profound suffering. He observed that life by its very nature is a flux, a constant flow of changing moments. By clinging to certain moments or states and resisting change, we find ourselves perpetually out of sync with reality. Imagine trying to hold on to a river's waters, cupping them tightly in your hands. The more we grasp, the more the water slips through our fingers. Life, Watts asserted, is akin to this river, ever flowing, ever changing. Seeking security in this dynamic dance is like trying to freeze the river in place, an endeavor both futile and frustrating. In our pursuit of permanence and certainty, we construct elaborate edifices of belief, identity, and expectation. Yet beneath these structures lies an undercurrent of anxiety. Deep down, there's a recognition that everything is impermanent. Watts suggested that our suffering stems from this tension between the reality of life's impermanence and our desire for enduring security. However, Watts offered not just a diagnosis but also a remedy. Instead of resisting the inherent insecurity of life, he proposed leaning into it, embracing the uncertain, the unknown, the fleeting moments as they come and go. By doing so, we align ourselves with the true rhythm of existence. As Watts eloquently stated, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Yet, the wisdom of insecurity is not a call to nihilism or reckless abandon. It's not about disregarding the future or acting impulsively. Rather, it's an invitation to be fully present in each moment, to engage with life authentically and without the heavy baggage of rigid expectations. It's about finding freedom in the recognition that security and permanence are but illusions, and that there's a profound beauty in the ever-shifting dance of life. In an age defined by its uncertainties, where change is the only constant, Alan Watts's teachings resonate with poignant relevance. The anxiety of the modern world often stems from our attempts to forecast, control, and secure our futures. Yet, as Watts suggests, true peace comes from letting go of these illusions, from understanding that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be experienced. Watts once mused, "There will always be suffering, but we must not suffer over the suffering." In this simple yet profound insight lies the essence of the wisdom of insecurity. It's a gentle reminder that in accepting the inherent uncertainties of life, in dancing with its ever-changing rhythms, we find not chaos, but harmony, not suffering, but joy. As we reflect on Watts' insights, we are reminded that wisdom often lies where we least expect it. In the midst of insecurity, in the embrace of the unknown, there lies a profound wisdom, a path to deeper understanding, richer experiences, and a life lived in tune with the authentic melodies of existence. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Viktor Frankl. Amidst the darkest chapters of human history, voices emerge, not just as mere echoes of despair, but as beacons of hope and profound wisdom. One such voice belongs to Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who endured the harrowing experience of the Holocaust. From the bleak confines of Auschwitz and other concentration camps, Frankl extracted insights that would illuminate the depths of human existence and shape the landscape of existential therapy. Frankl's narrative is not one of passive resignation. Instead, it's an anthem of resilience, purpose, and the indefatigable human spirit. The crucible of his experiences birthed his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, a poignant exploration of the human quest for significance amidst adversity. Central to Frankl's philosophy is the idea that even in the gravest of circumstances, individuals can find meaning. Life, according to Frankl, never ceases to have purpose. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. It is this freedom, the ability to imbue even suffering with significance, that stands as a testament to human strength and resilience." The concentration camps stripped individuals of every conceivable freedom and dignity. In this dehumanizing environment, Frankl observed that those who found a why to their existence, those who held on to some sense of purpose, were more resilient to the degradation and despair. It wasn't about physical vitality, but about a spiritual strength, an inner conviction that life, despite its brutality, held meaning. Frankl's insights bridged the vast expanse between extreme suffering and the everyday challenges of modern life. Each individual, he posited, has a unique purpose, a singular quest for significance. Suffering, in its myriad forms, is an inevitable aspect of the human condition. Yet Frankl argued that it's not the presence of suffering but the absence of meaning that leads to despair. When faced with hardships, individuals can either view them as pointless tragedies or as opportunities for deeper understanding and growth. This transformative perspective shifts the focus from the avoidance of pain to the pursuit of meaning. It's not about escaping suffering, but about navigating it with a sense of purpose. Even in the face of death, a reality he confronted daily in the camps, Frankl believed that life held potential meaning. Each moment, each interaction, even each loss, could be infused with significance.
Life can be meaningful or made meaningful not only by doing a deed, by creating a work, and beyond that by our experiencing something or by our encountering someone, and to encounter him in his uniqueness means by loving him. But even if need be, whenever we are confronted with an unchangeable fate, whenever we have to face say an incurable disease, an inoperable cancer, even then there is the highest meaning potential to realize, to fulfill, because then, precisely then, we are called upon to bear witness to the unique human potential, which is to transmute, to turn a predicament into an achievement, a human accomplishment, or to turn tragedy into a triumph.
Frankl's therapeutic approach, known as logotherapy, derives from the Greek word logos, which can be translated as meaning. Unlike psychotherapy models that prioritize pleasure or power, logotherapy emphasizes the human desire for purpose. In this framework, existential vacuums, feelings of emptiness and meaninglessness, are seen as central contributors to modern malaise. It's not the challenges themselves, but the perception of them being pointless that exacerbates suffering. In our contemporary world, replete with its unique challenges and existential anxieties, Frankl's philosophy finds resonant echoes. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the dissolution of a relationship, or the struggles with personal identity and purpose, the quest for meaning remains paramount. Viktor Frankl, from the depths of despair, offers a lens to view suffering not as an aberration, but as an integral part of the human journey. His life and work serve as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest nights of the soul, stars of meaning and purpose can shine brightly. In the embrace of Frankl's philosophy, we find solace and strength. We are reminded that our lives, with all their challenges, joys, and sorrows, are not random or futile. Each experience, each tear, each laugh carries with it the potential for deeper understanding, growth, and significance. In the end, Frankl's message is both timeless and timely. Life in all its complexity is meaningful. It's upon us, amidst the cacophony of existence, to tune in, listen deeply, and find our unique symphony of significance. As Frankl so poignantly stated, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. In this journey through the landscapes of thought, we've woven together the teachings of diverse minds, each shedding a unique light on the age-old philosophy of acceptance. Epictetus, with the stern discipline of Stoicism, reminds us of the serenity found in discerning between what is within our control and what isn't. Lao Tzu, with the ethereal wisdom of Taoism, beckons us to flow with life's river, emphasizing the beauty of simply letting things be. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher, illustrates the harmony in aligning ourselves with the natural order, appreciating life's every pulse. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, elucidates the liberation in understanding and accepting the inherent nature of suffering. Nietzsche, with fervent passion, urges us to embrace life in all its complexities, to find beauty even in hardships. Alan Watts, bridging East and West, unravels the wisdom lying in the heart of insecurity, nudging us to dance to life's ever-changing rhythms. And Viktor Frankl, from the crucible of unimaginable suffering, proffers a beacon of hope, asserting the indomitable spirit's ability to find meaning even in despair. This collection of insights, woven from different threads of time, culture, and experience, highlights a singular truth. Acceptance is not passive resignation. It's an active, conscious choice to embrace life as it is, to find meaning in the mundane and the monumental, and to navigate challenges not with resistance but with understanding. Integrating the art of acceptance into our daily lives is not merely philosophical musing. It's an imperative for holistic well-being. In every curveball life throws, in every unexpected twist, lies an opportunity, a chance to grow, to learn, and to come closer to our authentic selves. Acceptance doesn't diminish life's challenges. It empowers us to face them with grace, courage, and wisdom. As you, dear viewers, step away from this exploration, a challenge lies ahead. Reflect on your life's tapestry, its hues of joys, shadows of challenges, and patterns of experiences. Where can you infuse more acceptance? Which threads can you view not as snags but as integral parts of your unique story? Remember, each philosopher, each thinker was once someone like you, seeking, pondering, growing. You too have the power to transform challenges into stepping stones, to find wisdom in the whirlwinds of life. May you embark on this introspection with an open heart. May you discover pockets of acceptance where once there was resistance. And in doing so, may you find not just serenity, but also a deeper, more profound connection with the intricate, beautiful dance that is life. Embrace it, cherish it, and remember, every moment holds within it the seeds of wisdom waiting to bloom. Imagine for a moment that you could possess a wealth so vast, it would make even the richest people in the world feel impoverished by comparison. But this wealth isn't counted in banknotes or precious metals. It's a treasure that's been sought after for thousands of years, and yet it's within the grasp of each and every one of us. Welcome to a wealth paradigm shift, courtesy of Stoic philosophy. The topic we're diving into today is one that we all, consciously or unconsciously, wrestle with every single day: wealth. No, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about a conception of wealth that goes beyond material possessions, an idea so deeply entrenched in our psyche that it governs our decisions, actions, and even our state of happiness. The question is, can ancient Stoic wisdom, a philosophy from over 2 millennia ago, provide insights into how we, modern people living in a radically different world, can acquire wealth? But before we start our exploration, let me take a step back and explain why this topic is so relevant today. We live in an age where the headlines are filled with stories of self-made millionaires and billionaires, skyrocketing stock markets, cryptocurrencies, and seemingly endless opportunities for financial gain. Yet, despite these seemingly abundant resources and pathways to wealth, the majority of people are struggling financially. The global divide between the rich and poor is growing, financial anxiety is rampant, and there is a general sense of unease and dissatisfaction, even among those who are well off. There is clearly a missing piece to this wealth puzzle, and the repercussions are not just financial, but emotional and psychological. The purpose of this video is to unearth that missing piece by exploring the Stoic approach to acquiring wealth. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that originated in ancient Greece and was popularized by philosophers such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. You may be familiar with some of its core tenets: embracing rationality, understanding what we can and cannot control, practicing virtues like courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. Stoicism teaches us how to live a life of virtue and emotional resilience, but can it also guide us in the modern complexities of wealth creation and management? Is it possible to reconcile the Stoic pursuit of inner peace and virtue with the contemporary ambition for financial security and prosperity? Can we align the Stoic virtues with modern financial strategies and investment philosophies? These are the pressing questions we'll tackle as we aim to unravel a complete Stoic guide to becoming wealthy. When we discuss wealth from a Stoic perspective, we're not only speaking about an accumulation of assets. We're talking about wealth in terms of time, relationships, contentment, and yes, inner peace and happiness. A kind of wealth that's not fleeting but sustainable, not narrow but expansive, not exclusive but available to each and every one of us, regardless of where we are starting from. If you've ever felt that there's got to be a deeper, more fulfilling approach to wealth, or if you've ever been curious about how Stoic philosophy can be applied to other areas of your life, then stick around. We're about to embark on an intellectual journey that will challenge you to redefine what true wealth means. But be warned, the road ahead is not for the faint of heart. You'll be confronted with thought-provoking ideas that might challenge your existing beliefs about money, success, and happiness. If you're ready to challenge the status quo and venture into a realm where philosophy meets finance, then you're in the right place. So, grab a notebook, put on your thinking cap, and get ready to dig deep. We're about to explore the intricacies of Stoicism and its teachings on becoming truly wealthy. Prepare yourself for a transformative experience that might just change the way you perceive wealth, happiness, and success forever. In our modern lexicon, the term wealth often conjures up images of fancy cars, sprawling mansions, designer clothing, and endless vacations in exotic locations. It's intrinsically tied to material accumulation, the stuff you can pile up during your lifetime. But let's take a moment and ask ourselves, what does wealth really mean? How would you define it? Chances are, each one of us may have a slightly different answer to this question, and therein lies the crux of our dilemma. We're operating on different planes when it comes to understanding what wealth truly is. Now, let's extend this question further and ask, how did the Stoics define wealth? To understand Stoic philosophy's viewpoint, we need to look at wealth through a broader lens, one that expands beyond mere material possession. According to Stoicism, there are two types of wealth: material and immaterial. Material wealth includes all the tangible resources you can accumulate: money, property, and goods. This is the kind most people aim for, and there's nothing inherently wrong with it, according to Stoic thinking. It serves practical purposes, it can ease many of life's challenges, and it's natural for humans to seek comfort and security. However, the Stoics were far more interested in what they considered to be true wealth, which they defined as wealth of the soul. This immaterial wealth is composed of virtues, wisdom, peace of mind, and emotional resilience. Seneca, a Roman philosopher and a statesman, emphasized that no one can rob us of this internal wealth. It's immune to market crashes, political upheavals, and natural disasters. In his essays and letters, Seneca vividly describes how this wealth of the soul is what provides us true freedom and happiness. Material wealth can be stolen, it can decay or be devalued, but virtues like wisdom, courage, and justice are ours to keep without any depreciation. Why do the Stoics insist that this intangible form of wealth is more important than material riches? Stoicism teaches that the quality of our lives is determined not by our external circumstances, but by our internal state. Your perception, judgments, and reactions to the world around you create the life you experience. This concept is echoed in the words of Marcus Aurelius, another prominent Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, who stated that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. It implies that true wealth starts from within, from the soul. This immaterial wealth equips us to deal more effectively with the chaos of the external world, and it grants us a certain kind of invincibility where we are not easily swayed by life's ups and downs. This viewpoint becomes even more relevant when we consider the unpredictability of material wealth. Take a moment to think about the numerous millionaires and billionaires who faced immense scandals, bankruptcies, or financial losses overnight. On the flip side, consider those who, despite limited material means, live an enriched life filled with love, joy, and purpose. That's the Stoic wealth of the soul in action. As Epictetus, a philosopher who was born a slave and later gained his freedom, asserted, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." In other words, while we may have limited control over material wealth, we have absolute control over our inner wealth. You might wonder how this perspective of wealth integrates with our modern-day financial goals and pursuits. Is it impractical to aim for a wealth of the soul when we have bills to pay, mouths to feed, and dreams to finance? The answer lies in the balance and wisdom that Stoicism brings to the table. Stoic philosophy doesn't discourage material wealth. Rather, it emphasizes the importance of not becoming enslaved to it or letting it define your self-worth. Striving for material wealth becomes a problem when it consumes you, destabilizes your emotions, or drives you to compromise your virtues. In essence, Stoicism advises us to strive for material wealth as a means to an end, not as an end in itself. Therefore, the Stoic definition of wealth isn't an either-or proposition. It doesn't mean choosing between being wealthy in material goods or wealthy in virtue. Instead, it offers a more holistic approach, urging us to internalize virtues and wisdom as a means to navigate the complexities of acquiring material wealth in a virtuous manner. Understanding this perspective on wealth offers a deeper, more nuanced view. It challenges us to not only expand our assets, but also enrich our souls, thus achieving a balanced, resilient, and fulfilling life. And as we move further into this guide, we'll see how this Stoic blueprint can be practically applied to amass both material and immaterial wealth, creating a life that's not just rich, but also profoundly meaningful. We've laid down the foundation by discussing what wealth means from a Stoic perspective. Now let's focus on something fundamental in Stoic philosophy, the 4 Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. How do these virtues play a role in accumulating not just wealth of the soul, but also material wealth? The first virtue we'll examine is wisdom. Stoic wisdom entails knowing what is within our control and what is not, understanding the true nature of things, and making informed decisions based on this understanding. But how does wisdom contribute to wealth? In the realm of financial planning and investment, wisdom is akin to financial literacy. A wise individual knows how to budget, invest, and manage resources effectively. Just like a wise sailor knows when to set sail or stay in the harbor, a wise investor knows when to invest, hold, or pull out of an opportunity. This insight doesn't come merely from raw data or market trends. It stems from a holistic understanding of economics, human behavior, and even self-awareness about one's own risk tolerance and financial goals. Wisdom enables you to sift through the noise in the financial markets, politics, or popular opinion, allowing you to make decisions that are aligned with long-term wealth creation and preservation. Next comes courage. Courage in Stoicism isn't just about physical bravery, but also involves mental fortitude, the courage to face adversity, confront our fears, and live in accordance with our values. So how can courage help you in your financial journey? For starters, the financial world is rife with uncertainties and risks. Whether you're starting a new business venture or investing in the stock market, courage is what enables you to take calculated risks. It's what pushes you to invest in a downturn when everyone else is selling, or to hold on to an investment when market sentiments are against you. Courage helps you break free from the herd mentality that often leads to poor financial decisions. But it's not recklessness. Remember, Stoic courage is always informed by wisdom. It's about making bold moves when your understanding, your wisdom, tells you it's the right thing to do, even if it's the hard thing to do. Now let's talk about justice, the third Stoic virtue. Stoic justice involves fairness, equality, and working for the common good. How does justice play into wealth creation? In the world of business and finance, ethical considerations often take a back seat in the mad rush for profits. However, acting justly in your financial dealings not only adds to your social capital, but also preserves and multiplies your material wealth in the long term. Ethical businesses attract more loyal customers, dedicated employees, and favorable partnerships. Similarly, ethical investment in socially responsible funds, for instance, tends to be more sustainable in the long run. Justice in your financial affairs also shields you from legal issues that could lead to financial ruin. Thus, adhering to a code of ethics, treating employees fairly, offering quality products or services, being honest in financial reporting, all these just actions contribute to a sustainable and profitable business model. Last but not least, we have temperance, which involves self-discipline, moderation, and control over one's impulses. In a consumer culture that constantly encourages instant gratification, how does temperance help? Firstly, temperance is a strong antidote to impulse buying, reckless investment, and debt accumulation. It helps you live within your means and save for your future. In investing, temperance could manifest as a disciplined approach to asset allocation, avoiding the temptation to bet the farm on a hot tip. In business, it could mean the self-control to not overextend your resources or take on more than you can handle. In everyday life, temperance guides you to differentiate between your wants and needs, allowing for a more efficient allocation of your resources. Over time, these tempered decisions compound, offering you not just material wealth, but also the peace of mind that comes from financial security. These Stoic virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, are not just moral guidelines for a virtuous life. They are pragmatic strategies for effective wealth creation and preservation. By integrating these virtues into our financial lives, we lay down a rock-solid foundation for both material and immaterial wealth. We create a sustainable model of wealth generation that is resilient to the inevitable ebbs and flows of life and the market. Remember, the Stoics were not against material wealth, they were against the irrational and unethical pursuit of it. By aligning our financial pursuits with these Stoic virtues, we set ourselves on a path to true wealth, one that enriches not just our bank accounts but also our souls. Now that we've discussed the Stoic virtues and how they can guide us towards creating both material and immaterial wealth, let's address a topic that often breeds confusion and debate. Is money evil? The answer, according to Stoic philosophy, is an emphatic no. Money itself is neutral, but before you jump to conclusions, it's crucial to unpack this idea further. In Stoic terms, money is what they call an indifferent thing. It's neither good nor bad. What matters is our relationship with it, how we acquire it, how we use it, and how we let it affect us. In this section, we'll explore the Stoic argument that while money isn't evil, the love of money and what one does with it can be either virtuous or vicious. You've likely heard the saying, "The love of money is the root of all evil." This phrase echoes what Stoics warned us about, the slippery slope that starts with a disproportionate attachment to wealth. When the pursuit of money becomes an end in itself, rather than a means to an end, that's when we tread into dangerous territory. Stoicism teaches us to maintain an emotional detachment from external goods, money included. Emotional detachment doesn't mean indifference or lack of care. Rather, it's a balanced state where your well-being and sense of self-worth are not tied to your financial status. If money becomes the yardstick by which we measure success, happiness, or self-worth, then we're setting ourselves up for a life driven by anxiety, greed, and endless craving. This emotional dependency on wealth can lead us down a perilous path where our ethical and moral standards may start to waver, causing us to make choices that we might later regret profoundly. Seneca warned us that to be obsessed by the love of money is to be preoccupied with avarice, a frightful evil. So if money isn't inherently evil, it stands to reason that it can be used in both virtuous and vicious ways. How we use our wealth is a testament to our character and virtues or lack thereof. For example, using money to provide for your family, invest in your education, help those in need, or fund ventures that add value to society are virtuous uses of wealth. These actions align with the Stoic virtues of wisdom, knowing the right way to use your resources; justice, using your wealth to promote equality and the common good; and temperance, moderating your own desires to allocate resources responsibly. On the other hand, using money to deceive, exploit, or harm others for personal gain aligns with none of the Stoic virtues and is clearly vicious. Similarly, hoarding wealth for the sake of wealth, living extravagantly while ignoring the needs of others, or indulging in activities that harm your soul, such as excessive hedonism, are also vicious uses of money. In today's world, the Stoic philosophy urges us to be ethical investors and entrepreneurs. As we discussed earlier, the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance provide a moral compass, guiding us in how we should acquire and use wealth. An ethical investor would follow the virtue of wisdom by thoroughly researching before investing, and will have the courage to invest in ventures that align with their values, even if they are unpopular. They would enact justice by choosing investments that contribute positively to society, and exercise temperance by not succumbing to the highs and lows of the financial market. Similarly, an entrepreneur guided by Stoic philosophy would build a business rooted in ethical practices, aiming not just for profitability, but also for societal good. This mindset isn't just noble, it's also smart business. Organizations that are rooted in ethical practices and societal contribution are increasingly finding favor with consumers and are more resilient in times of economic uncertainty. Money, according to Stoicism, is a tool, a resource that can be wielded for both good and bad. It's not money, but our attitudes toward it, our methods of acquiring it, and our ways of using it that determine whether it becomes a force for good or evil in our lives. As Stoics, the quest for wealth becomes virtuous when it aligns with our pursuit of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When guided by these virtues, money ceases to be a source of potential vice and becomes an enabler of a good, meaningful, and virtuous life. Having explored how Stoic virtues can guide us in acquiring and using wealth ethically, and understanding that money itself is neither good nor bad, it's time to delve into a fascinating case study: Seneca the Younger. Seneca was a statesman, a playwright, and notably a Stoic philosopher, who also happened to be immensely wealthy. His life offers us a unique perspective on how Stoicism and wealth can coexist. But how did Seneca reconcile his considerable fortune with his Stoic beliefs? Let's dive into the paradox of Seneca, the wealthy Stoic. First, a bit of background on Seneca. He lived in Rome from around 4 BC to 65 AD, and was not just a philosopher, but also an advisor to Emperor Nero. Seneca was undeniably wealthy. His estates and possessions were vast, and by any measure of his time, or even by today's standards, he was rich. However, it's worth noting that his wealth, to a large extent, was entangled with the political complexities and moral ambiguities of his time. He was a man navigating a landscape of extreme power dynamics and ethical challenges, which ultimately led to his forced suicide by the emperor he advised. Consistent with Stoic philosophy, Seneca considered wealth to be an indifferent, something neither good nor bad in itself. His views on money aligned with the core Stoic principle that external things are not the source of human virtue or vice. In one of his letters he said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." For Seneca, it wasn't having wealth that was problematic, but the insatiable desire for it. The Stoic concern with wealth primarily revolved around the mindset of the possessor, how it was acquired, how it was used, and most importantly, whether one's happiness was dependent on it. Seneca emphasized repeatedly in his works that the ultimate aim should be virtue. No man can live a happy life, or even a supportable life, without the study of wisdom, he wrote. Despite his enormous wealth, Seneca practiced what he called philosophical exercises, such as periodic fasting and other forms of self-deprivation, to remind himself that he could be content with much less. He actively trained himself to be indifferent to his wealth, even while enjoying it. Seneca was acutely aware of the power and responsibility that came with wealth. He acknowledged that money could be used in ways that were virtuous or vicious. One might argue that Seneca attempted to use his wealth in a manner that aligned with Stoic virtues. He funded public works, supported the arts, and invested in intellectual and social endeavors. He viewed his wealth as a tool to enact his Stoic values on a broader scale. Seneca wrote, "We should so steer our own course that our life will be a matter of rational planning and purposeful behavior." It can be argued that his use of wealth was a manifestation of this Stoic commitment to rational planning and purposeful action. However, it would be intellectually dishonest not to address the controversies surrounding Seneca's wealth. Critics argue that his vast estate was accumulated through his close association with Nero, who was infamous for his tyranny. Moreover, some of Seneca's wealth was accrued through money lending at exorbitant rates in Britain, which led to public unrest. How can these actions be reconciled with Stoic virtue? The truth is, they can't be entirely, yet Seneca himself was keenly aware of his imperfections, stating in his letters that he was writing not as a perfect Stoic, but as a man on the path to wisdom, fraught with his own challenges and failings. The life of Seneca presents a nuanced and complex relationship between Stoicism and wealth. On one hand, he epitomizes the Stoic ideal that external wealth is indifferent, and that virtue is the highest good. On the other hand, his life also serves as a cautionary tale of the moral complexities and ethical dilemmas one might face when wealth and power are in play. His case teaches us that the Stoic path is not one of unequivocal answers, but rather one of continuous moral and ethical navigation. It demonstrates that even within the framework of Stoic philosophy, wealth can exist without compromising virtue, provided it is pursued and used in alignment with Stoic principles. However, it also serves as a poignant reminder that the quest for virtue is fraught with real-world complications and challenges, requiring constant vigilance and introspection. In the intricate dance between Stoicism and the acquisition of wealth, Seneca stands as a towering, if not complex, figure. His life serves as both an inspiration and a warning, challenging us to examine our own values, methods, and ultimate goals as we navigate the murky waters of morality, power, and wealth in our times. The concept of control is pivotal in Stoic philosophy, so much so that it gives us one of its most important tools, the dichotomy of control. This Stoic principle teaches us to differentiate between what we can control and what we can't. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, summarized it beautifully. We cannot control external events, but we can control our reactions to them. But what does this mean in the context of wealth creation and management? How can we apply this ancient principle to the modern pursuit of financial success? The dichotomy of control asks us to divide our concerns into two categories: things we can control and things we can't. At first glance, this seems straightforward, but it holds profound implications for our emotional and financial well-being. What we can control, according to Stoicism, are our own actions, thoughts, and feelings. What we can't control are external circumstances like the economy, stock market fluctuations, or even what others think of us. By focusing on what we can control, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil often accompanying unexpected life events. We learn to place value on our inner resources, rather than externals that could be taken away from us at any moment. When it comes to wealth creation, the dichotomy of control suggests that our energies are best spent on things within our realm of influence. These include our skills, knowledge, work ethic, and financial literacy, key components that contribute to wealth creation. Consider entrepreneurship, for instance. The success of a new venture is subject to myriad factors, such as market demand, competition, and economic conditions, all of which are beyond your immediate control. What you can control, however, is the quality of your product or service, your business strategy, and the integrity with which you operate. If the business fails for reasons beyond your control, the dichotomy of control teaches us to evaluate, learn, and pivot, rather than wallow in despair or frustration. This Stoic principle also offers guidance on managing existing wealth. Investment markets are notoriously volatile, subject to a multitude of factors ranging from political events to natural disasters. While you can't control market behavior, you can control how well diversified your portfolio is, your reaction to market volatility, and your overall investment strategy. By focusing on these controllable aspects, you manage your risk more effectively. The dichotomy of control isn't just about focusing on actionable elements, but also on emotional regulation. Financial decisions are often fraught with strong emotions like fear and greed, leading to impulsive decisions that might not align with long-term goals. By applying Stoic teachings, we learn to detach our emotions from our financial choices, leading to more rational and thoughtful decision-making. Let's talk about economic downturns, a situation where many people feel they have lost control. Stoicism teaches us to accept the reality of the situation and focus on constructive steps within our control. This could be as simple as cutting unnecessary expenses, reskilling to enter a different job market, or even taking the time to reevaluate what truly matters in life. It's about finding a sense of internal wealth even when external wealth seems to be dwindling. The dichotomy of control equips us with a powerful lens through which we can view our financial lives. By applying this Stoic principle, we not only become more effective in wealth creation and management, but also learn to navigate the inherent uncertainties of life with composure and rationality. We turn our focus inwards, to the vast realm of possibilities within our control, steering clear from the paralyzing anxiety that comes with fixating on what lies beyond our grasp. It doesn't mean that we ignore external factors. Rather, we approach them from a place of emotional and rational strength, making the best possible decisions in the pursuit of both material and immaterial wealth. In this way, the Stoic dichotomy of control serves as a grounding tool, continually bringing our focus back to what truly matters and what is genuinely within our power to influence. From the Stoic guidance on virtues to the dichotomy of control, our understanding of Stoicism's approach to wealth has been building up layer by layer. But what role does contentment play in this tapestry? One might think that contentment and ambition are at odds with each other, that being satisfied with what you have can smother the drive to achieve more. However, Stoicism, with its nuanced view on human emotions and aspirations, teaches us that contentment and ambition can coexist. In this section, we will explore how a Stoic sense of contentment aligns with the pursuit of wealth, and how this is not a contradiction, but rather a balanced, holistic approach to life and financial well-being. The Stoic ideal of contentment. Stoicism teaches us to find contentment in our current circumstances by focusing on our internal world, our virtues, and the things within our control. The idea is not to abandon our goals and settle for mediocrity, but to detach our happiness and sense of self-worth from external outcomes. In this way, contentment becomes a grounding force, a stable emotional state that allows us to operate in the world without being tossed about by the winds of fortune. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome, said it best: "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This attitude is not one of complacency, but of peaceful acceptance of the present moment while keeping an eye on the future. The focus is on being content with the journey, irrespective of the destination. But doesn't contentment kill ambition? Quite the contrary. When we are content with what we have, it frees up emotional bandwidth to pursue our goals with clarity and focus. There is a sort of liberating paradox in Stoic contentment. By being satisfied with what we have, we actually create a fertile ground for achieving more. When the constant need for more is absent, what remains is a pure form of ambition. Ambition not born out of lack or envy, but out of the genuine desire to engage with the world in a meaningful way. Let's talk about this in the context of wealth. Say your goal is to achieve financial independence. The conventional approach might involve constantly worrying about money, compulsively tracking every cent, and enduring a lot of stress until you reach your financial target. But a Stoic would approach this differently. According to Stoic philosophy, financial independence is a worthy goal, but your well-being shouldn't be postponed until that goal is achieved. Instead, you can be content with your current state while taking reasoned, consistent actions towards your financial goals. You can manage your budget, invest wisely, and make career moves, all without the anxiety that usually accompanies these activities. Why? Because your sense of contentment is not tied to your financial status. Balancing the internal and the external, the material and the immaterial. It is entirely possible to be content while striving for more, to be ambitious while being grounded. This balancing act is what Stoicism champions. It equips you with the emotional and intellectual tools to strive for wealth or any other external goal without becoming a slave to it. Your wealth becomes an extension of your life's purpose, not the purpose itself. The Stoic approach to contentment serves as a buffer against the highs and lows of life, against the unpredictable swings of fortune. It provides the emotional stability to pursue our ambitions, including the acquisition of wealth, in a rational, focused manner. Contentment and ambition in the Stoic worldview are not mutually exclusive, but mutually enriching. Together, they create a potent recipe for a life well lived, a life rich in both material and immaterial wealth. So, as we strive for financial success, let's not forget that the Stoic sense of contentment is the foundation upon which we build our towers of ambition. It's not just about accumulating wealth, but about creating a rich life in every sense of the word. We've explored the Stoic virtues, the role of control, contentment, and other abstract principles that form the Stoic perspective on wealth. Now, let's bring this down to the ground level. How do we translate these high-level ideas into day-to-day financial strategies? What are the practical steps you can take to manage and grow your wealth while staying true to Stoic principles? From the virtues of frugality to the wisdom of long-term planning, let's discuss some Stoic-inspired financial strategies that you can apply right now. Frugality, the Stoic art of living simply. One of the most immediate applications of Stoicism to personal finance is the practice of frugality. Stoicism teaches us to live according to nature, to focus on our needs rather than our wants. Frugality doesn't mean living a life of deprivation. Rather, it's about eliminating the non-essentials to make room for what truly adds value to our lives. Financially, this can have a transformative impact. Imagine the money saved from dining out less often or from canceling subscriptions to services that you barely use. Over time, these savings can be significant, offering you more financial freedom and less stress related to money. It's not about penny pinching, but about maximizing the value you get from your financial resources, an idea deeply aligned with Stoic teachings. Long-term planning, a Stoic future focus. Stoicism is not just a philosophy for the present moment, but also guides us to consider the long-term implications of our actions. The Stoic emphasis on wisdom and prudence translates well into financial long-term planning. Saving for retirement, creating an emergency fund, and investing wisely for the future are all actions that align with Stoic values. These practices require discipline, foresight, and a detachment from immediate gratification, qualities nurtured by a Stoic outlook on life. By preparing for the future, we embody the Stoic virtue of wisdom, applying our rational faculties to secure not just current but future well-being. This is financial prudence at its best, the perfect blend of Stoic wisdom and modern financial planning. Avoiding debt, the Stoic view on financial obligations. Debt is another crucial area where Stoic principles can offer valuable insights. Stoicism teaches us to minimize dependencies and to maintain our freedom. In that light, accumulating debt can be seen as a form of enslavement, binding us to financial obligations that restrict our choices and freedom. Of course, not all debt is avoidable or even bad. A mortgage, for example, can be a strategic financial decision. However, the Stoic caution against unnecessary debt serves as a valuable counterbalance to a culture often eager to spend beyond its means. By avoiding consumer debt and paying off loans as quickly as possible, you're not just practicing financial responsibility, you're reclaiming your freedom in a Stoic sense. Investing with virtue, ethical financial choices. Lastly, let's touch upon investing. Stoic philosophy places great emphasis on ethical conduct and social responsibility. Thus, it's not a stretch to argue that a Stoic approach to investing would be mindful of these ethical dimensions. Socially responsible investing options like ESG, environmental, social, and governance funds can align well with Stoic values. This form of investment allows you to contribute to societal well-being while also potentially enjoying financial returns. So these are a few ways in which Stoic philosophy can inform and guide your financial strategies. Frugality, long-term planning, avoiding unnecessary debt, and ethical investing are not just sound financial practices, but also acts of Stoic virtue. They allow you to live a life that's not just affluent in financial terms, but also rich in ethical and emotional well-being. Adopting Stoic principles in your financial strategies allows for a holistic approach to wealth creation and management. It's not just about the numbers in your bank account, but about crafting a life that's financially, ethically, and emotionally balanced. And it's this balanced, holistic approach that makes the Stoic philosophy so enduring and so incredibly relevant in our times, guiding us toward a form of wealth that is both sustainable and deeply fulfilling. By applying these practical Stoic financial strategies, you are not merely surviving in the financial arena, you're thriving in it, grounded by virtues and guided by wisdom. It's Stoicism in action, bringing ancient wisdom to modern wealth management. As we journey through the interconnected worlds of Stoicism and wealth, it's essential to understand how Stoic principles hold up in the complex, fast-paced landscape of modern wealth creation. We're living in a time where the potential for gaining and losing wealth has accelerated dramatically. Startups, cryptocurrencies, and the volatile stock market are very much part of the modern vernacular of wealth, which begs the question, how do Stoic values align, or perhaps clash, with contemporary notions surrounding money and success? Let's delve into this interesting juxtaposition. Traditional Stoic values versus modern societal values. The traditional Stoic values of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance often seem at odds with modern society's relentless focus on material success, social status, and immediate gratification. While Stoicism promotes the virtues of restraint, moderation, and ethical living, the contemporary financial landscape often extols risk-taking, rapid growth, and the amassing of wealth as markers of success. The discord is apparent, but it's not as irreconcilable as it may seem at first glance. Many successful modern entrepreneurs, for instance, demonstrate Stoic virtues, whether they label them as such or not. The courage to innovate and disrupt established norms, the justice to lead ethically, and the temperance to avoid succumbing to greed or short-term temptations, these are all Stoic qualities that can serve one well in the contemporary business world. Startups are often described as roller coasters, with highs of innovation and growth and lows of uncertainty and failure. It's an environment where the Stoic dichotomy of control can serve as a compass. Founders who focus on factors within their control, like the quality of their product, the ethics of their business dealings, and the well-being of their employees, are often more adaptive and resilient. Stoic virtues also play a role: the courage to take calculated risks, the wisdom to pivot when needed, and the justice to build a business that is not just profitable, but also socially responsible. In this volatile context, Stoic teachings act as a grounding mechanism, enabling individuals to maintain their equilibrium irrespective of external circumstances. While startup culture often glorifies workaholism and unchecked ambition, a Stoic perspective would challenge this, advocating for a more balanced and sustainable approach to business, one that values not just financial gains but ethical and philosophical consistency. In a world subject to rapid financial changes and uncertainties, Stoic philosophy provides tools for emotional and financial resilience. Whether it's an economic downturn, a sudden market crash, or any unexpected financial turbulence, Stoicism teaches us to revert to our inner fortress, to the things within our control. It instructs us to be cautious but not overly conservative, to take risks but not gamble, and to embrace change but not chase every trend mindlessly. In this way, Stoic philosophy can serve as a grounding force in the whirlwind of modern financial complexities. The Stoic principles that guided individuals in ancient times are surprisingly adaptable to the complexities of modern wealth creation. They offer a balanced approach, allowing for ambition and growth, but keeping these impulses in check with virtues like wisdom and temperance. As we navigate the high-speed avenues of startups, crypto, and other modern financial phenomena, the calming, rational tenets of Stoicism provide a much-needed balance, ensuring that we don't lose sight of what truly matters in the pursuit of wealth. By understanding how this philosophy interacts with the modern engines of wealth creation, we can strike a nuanced balance between pursuing material gains and maintaining ethical, emotional, and philosophical integrity. This, in essence, is the Stoics' guide to navigating the complex financial landscapes of the 21st century. A guide that champions neither reckless ambition nor resigned passivity, but a reasoned, virtuous, and balanced pursuit of wealth in all its forms. As we conclude our exploration, it becomes increasingly evident that the Stoic view of wealth offers a nuanced, yet incredibly relevant framework for our modern age. Stoicism doesn't outright reject the idea of financial prosperity, rather it places it within a broader context of human well-being. The Stoic path to wealth is neither one of asceticism nor of unbridled materialism, but a middle way that champions the harmonious development of material, ethical, and spiritual wealth. In today's fast-paced world of startups, cryptocurrencies, and volatile financial markets, Stoic wisdom serves as an ethical and emotional compass. It encourages us to approach wealth as a part of life that can be mastered, just like any other, through the cultivation of virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. It prompts us to take control where we can, while teaching us to maintain our equanimity in the face of circumstances beyond our control. Stoicism and wealth are not mutually exclusive, but the pursuit of the latter must always be aligned with Stoic virtues for one to attain true happiness and prosperity. As we've seen, this ancient philosophy's guidelines for achieving a wealth of the soul can be seamlessly integrated into modern strategies for financial planning, risk assessment, and even investment. The ultimate takeaway is that the Stoic philosophy, with its 2,000-year-old wisdom, can guide us towards a life where we are wealthy not just in material possessions, but also in virtue, contentment, and overall well-being. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This timeless insight is perhaps the cornerstone of a life well lived, as it urges us to redefine our notion of wealth, to align it with virtue and wisdom, and thus to truly enrich our lives in a manner that is both profound and lasting. This is a path not just to financial security, but to a richer, more meaningful experience of life itself. Imagine you had a chance to sit down with someone who lived thousands of years ago, a philosopher, statesman, and playwright, someone who walked the halls of power but also tasted the bitterness of exile. Imagine this person could offer you insights so timeless that they could change the way you see the world today, impacting how you think, feel, and act. What would you give for just an hour of wisdom from such a person? Well, the good news is, you don't have to imagine it, because that's precisely what we're doing today as we delve deep into the letters of Seneca, one of the most insightful Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome. The man behind these life-altering letters, Seneca, was not just a philosopher in an ivory tower. He was an individual deeply engaged in the society and politics of his time. From advising emperors to experiencing the ups and downs of political life, his observations about the human condition weren't academic exercises. They were drawn from the crucible of lived experience, making them as relevant today as they were nearly 2 millennia ago. The Letters from a Stoic, a series of moral epistles to his friend Lucilius, represent some of the most poignant philosophical texts ever penned. In them, Seneca provides practical advice on everything from how to deal with grief and adversity to tips on personal development and ethical considerations. In this video, we're about to embark on a transformative journey through 7 of Seneca's most impactful letters. Each of these letters offers timeless advice, actionable tips, and a profound understanding of human nature that can enrich our lives in unimaginable ways. Stay with me as we unlock the secrets to a fulfilling life, one ancient letter at a time. Continue to act thus, my dear Lucilius. Set yourself free for your own sake. Gather and save your time, which till lately has been forced from you, or filched away, or has merely slipped from your hands. Make yourself believe the truth of my words, that certain moments are torn from us, that some are gently removed, and that others glide beyond our reach. The most disgraceful kind of loss, however, is that due to carelessness. Furthermore, if you will pay close heed to the problem, you will find that the largest portion of our life passes while we are doing ill, a goodly share while we are doing nothing, and the whole while we are doing that which is not to the purpose. What man can you show me who places any value on his time, who reckons the worth of each day, who understands that he is dying daily? For we are mistaken when we look forward to death. The major portion of death has already passed. Whatever years be behind us are in death's hands. Therefore, Lucilius, do as you write me that you are doing. Hold every hour in your grasp. Lay hold of today's task, and you will not need to depend so much upon tomorrow's. While we are postponing, life speeds by. Nothing, Lucilius, is ours except time. We were entrusted by nature with the ownership of this single thing, so fleeting and slippery that anyone who will can oust us from possession. What fools these mortals be! They allow the cheapest and most useless things, which can easily be replaced, to be charged in the reckoning after they have acquired them. But they never regard themselves as in debt when they have received some of that precious commodity, time, and yet time is the one loan which even a grateful recipient cannot repay. You may desire to know how I, who preach to you so freely, am practicing. I confess frankly, my expense account balances, as you would expect from one who is free-handed but careful. I cannot boast that I waste nothing, but I can at least tell you what I am wasting and the cause and manner of the loss. I can give you the reasons why I am a poor man. My situation, however, is the same as that of many who are reduced to slender means through no fault of their own. Everyone forgives them, but no one comes to their rescue. What is the state of things then? It is this: I do not regard a man as poor, if the little which remains is enough for him. I advise you, however, to keep what is really yours, and you cannot begin too early. For as our ancestors believed, it is too late to spare when you reach the dregs of the cask. Of that which remains at the bottom, the amount is slight, and the quality is vile. Keep on as you have begun, and make all possible haste, so that you may have longer enjoyment of an improved mind, one that is at peace with itself. Doubtless, you will derive enjoyment during the time when you are improving your mind and setting it at peace with itself. But quite different is the pleasure which comes from contemplation when one's mind is so cleansed from every stain that it shines. You remember, of course, what joy you felt when you laid aside the garments of boyhood and donned the man's toga and were escorted to the forum. Nevertheless, you may look for a still greater joy when you have laid aside the mind of boyhood and when wisdom has enrolled you among men. For it is not boyhood that still stays with us, but something worse, boyishness. And this condition is all the more serious because we possess the authority of old age, together with the follies of boyhood, yea, even the follies of infancy. Boys fear trifles, children fear shadows, we fear both. All you need to do is to advance. You will thus understand that some things are less to be dreaded, precisely because they inspire us with great fear. No evil is great which is the last evil of all. Death arrives. It would be a thing to dread if it could remain with you. But death must either not come at all, or else must come and pass away. It is difficult, however, you say, to bring the mind to a point where it can scorn life. But do you not see what trifling reasons impel men to scorn life? One hangs himself before the door of his mistress, another hurls himself from the housetop that he may no longer be compelled to bear the taunts of a bad-tempered master, a third, to be saved from arrest after running away, drives a sword into his vitals. Do you not suppose that virtue will be as efficacious as excessive fear? No man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it, or believes that living through many consulships is a great blessing. Rehearse this thought every day, that you may be able to depart from life contentedly, for many men clutch and cling to life, even as those who are carried down a rushing stream clutch and cling to briars and sharp rocks. Most men ebb and flow in wretchedness between the fear of death and the hardships of life. They are unwilling to live, and yet they do not know how to die. For this reason, make life as a whole agreeable to yourself by banishing all worry about it. No good thing renders its possessor happy, unless his mind is reconciled to the possibility of loss. Nothing, however, is lost with less discomfort than that which, when lost, cannot be missed. Therefore, encourage and toughen your spirit against the mishaps that afflict even the most powerful. For example, the fate of Pompey was settled by a boy and a eunuch, that of Crassus by a cruel and insolent Parthian. Gaius Caesar ordered Lepidus to bare his neck for the acts of the tribune Dexter, and he himself offered his own throat to Chaerea. No man has ever been so far advanced by fortune that she did not threaten him as greatly as she had previously indulged him. Do not trust her seeming calm. In a moment the sea is moved to its depths. The very day the ships have made a brave show in the games, they are engulfed. Reflect that a highwayman or an enemy may cut your throat, and though he is not your master, every slave wields the power of life and death over you. Therefore I declare to you, he is Lord of your life that scorns his own. Think of those who have perished through plots in their own home, slain either openly or by guile. You will that just as many have been killed by angry slaves as by angry kings. What matter therefore how powerful he be whom you fear, when everyone possesses the power which inspires your fear? But, you will say, if you should chance to fall into the hands of the enemy, the conqueror will command that you be led away. Yes, whither you are already being led. Why do you voluntarily deceive yourself and require to be told now for the first time what fate it is that you have long been laboring under? Take my word for it, since the day you were born you are being led thither. We must ponder this thought, and thoughts of the like nature, if we desire to be calm as we await that last hour, the fear of which makes all previous hours uneasy. But I must end my letter. Let me share with you the saying which pleased me today. It too is culled from another man's garden. Poverty, brought into conformity with the law of nature, is great wealth. Do you know what limits that law of nature ordains for us? Merely to avert hunger, thirst, and cold. In order to banish hunger and thirst, it is not necessary for you to pay court at the doors of the purse-proud, or to submit to the stern frown, or to the kindness that humiliates. Nor is it necessary for you to scour the seas or go campaigning. Nature's needs are easily provided and ready to hand. It is the superfluous things for which men sweat, the superfluous things that wear our togas threadbare, that force us to grow old in camp, that dash us upon foreign shores. That which is enough is ready to our hands. He who has made a fair compact with poverty is rich. I feel, my dear Lucilius, that I am being not only reformed but transformed. I do not yet, however, assure myself or indulge the hope that there are no elements left in me which need to be changed. Of course, there are many that should be made more compact or made thinner or be brought into greater prominence. And indeed, this very fact is proof that my spirit is altered into something better, that it can see its own faults, of which it was previously ignorant. In certain cases, sick men are congratulated because they themselves have perceived that they are sick. I therefore wish to impart to you this sudden change in myself. I should then begin to place a surer trust in our friendship. The true friendship which hope and fear and self-interest cannot sever. The friendship in which, and for the sake of which men meet death. I can show you many who have lacked, not a friend, but a friendship. This, however, cannot possibly happen when souls are drawn together by identical inclinations into an alliance of honorable desires. And why can it not happen? Because in such cases men know that they have all things in common, especially their troubles. You cannot conceive what distinct progress I notice that each day brings to me. And when you say, "Give me also a share in these gifts which you have found so helpful," I reply that I am anxious to heap all these privileges upon you, and that I am glad to learn in order that I may teach. Nothing will ever please me, no matter how excellent or beneficial, if I must retain the knowledge of it to myself. And if wisdom were given me under the express condition that it must be kept hidden and not uttered, I should refuse it. No good thing is pleasant to possess, without friends to share it. I shall therefore send to you the actual books, and in order that you may not waste time in searching here and there for profitable topics, I shall mark certain passages, so that you can turn at once to those which I approve and admire. Of course, however, the living voice and the intimacy of a common life will help you more than the written word. You must go to the scene of action first, because men put more faith in their eyes than in their ears, and second, because the way is long if one follows precepts, but short and helpful if one follows patterns. Cleanthes could not have been the express image of Zeno if he had merely heard his lectures. He shared in his life, saw into his hidden purposes, and watched him to see whether he lived according to his own rules. Plato, Aristotle, and the whole throng of sages who were destined to go each his different way derived more benefit from the character than from the words of Socrates. It was not the classroom of Epictetus, but living together under the same roof that made great men of Metrodorus, Hermarchus, and Polyaenus. Therefore I summon you, not merely that you may derive benefit, but that you may confer benefit, for we can assist each other greatly. Meanwhile I owe you my little daily contribution. You shall be told what pleased me today in the writings of Hecato. It is these words: "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." That was indeed a great benefit. Such a person can never be alone. You may be sure that such a man is a friend to all mankind. It is the month of December, and yet the city is at this very moment in a sweat. License is given to the general merrymaking. Everything resounds with mighty preparations, as if the Saturnalia differed at all from the usual business day. So true it is that the difference is nil, that I regard as correct the remark of the man who said, "Once December was a month, now it is a year." If I had you with me, I should be glad to consult you and find out what you think should be done, whether we ought to make no change in our daily routine, or whether, in order not to be out of sympathy with the ways of the public, we should dine in gayer fashion and off the toga. As it is now, we Romans have changed our dress for the sake of pleasure and holiday making, though in former times that was only customary, when the state was disturbed and had fallen on evil days. I am sure that, if I know you right, playing the part of an umpire, you would have wished that we should be neither like the liberty-capped sea throng in all ways, nor in all ways unlike them, unless, perhaps, this is just the season when we ought to lay down the law to the soul, and bid it be alone in refraining from pleasures just when the whole mob has let itself go in pleasures. For this is the surest proof which a man can get of his own constancy, if he neither seeks the things which are seductive and allure him to luxury, nor is led into them. It shows much more courage to remain dry and sober when the mob is drunk and vomiting, but it shows greater self-control to refuse to withdraw oneself, and to do what the crowd does, but in a different way, thus neither making oneself conspicuous, nor becoming one of the crowd, for one may keep holiday without extravagance. I am so firmly determined, however, to test the constancy of your mind that, drawing from the teachings of great men, I shall give you also a lesson. Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" It is precisely in times of immunity from care that the soul should toughen itself beforehand for occasions of greater stress, and it is while fortune is kind that it should fortify itself against her violence. In days of peace the soldier performs maneuvers, throws up earthworks with no enemy in sight, and wearies himself by gratuitous toil, in order that he may be equal to unavoidable toil. If you would not have a man flinch when the crisis comes, train him before it comes. Such is the course which those men have followed who, in their imitation of poverty, have every month come almost to want, that they might never recoil from what they had so often rehearsed. You need not suppose that I mean meals like timons or paupers' huts or any other device which luxurious millionaires use to beguile the tedium of their lives. Let the pallet be a real one, and the coarse cloak. Let the bread be hard and grimy. Endure all this for 3 or 4 days at a time, sometimes for more, so that it may be a test of yourself instead of a mere hobby. Then I assure you, my dear Lucilius, you will leap for joy when filled with a pennyworth of food, and you will understand that a man's peace of mind does not depend upon fortune, for even when angry she grants enough for our needs. There is no reason, however, why you should think that you are doing anything great, for you will merely be doing what many thousands of slaves and many thousands of poor men are doing every day. But you may credit yourself with this item, that you will not be doing it under compulsion, and that it will be as easy for you to endure it permanently as to make the experiment from time to time. Let us practice our strokes on the dummy. Let us become intimate with poverty so that fortune may not catch us off our guard. We shall be rich with all the more comfort if we once learn how far poverty is from being a burden. Even Epictetus, the teacher of pleasure, used to observe stated intervals, during which he satisfied his hunger in niggardly fashion. He wished to see whether he thereby fell short of full and complete happiness, and if so, by what amount he fell short, and whether this amount was worth purchasing at the price of great effort. At any rate, he makes such a statement in the well-known letter written to Polyaenus in the archonship of Carinus. Indeed, he boasts that he himself lived on less than a penny, but that Metrodorus, whose progress was not yet so great, needed a whole penny. Do you think that there can be fullness on such fare? Yes, and there is pleasure also, not that shifty and fleeting pleasure which needs a fillip now and then, but a pleasure that is steadfast and sure. For though water, barley meal, and crusts of barley bread are not a cheerful diet, yet it is the highest kind of pleasure to be able to derive pleasure from this sort of food, and to have reduced one's needs to that modicum which no unfairness of fortune can snatch away. Even prison fare is more generous, and those who have been set apart for capital punishment are not so meanly fed by the man who is to execute them. Therefore, what a noble soul must one have, to descend of one's own free will to a diet which even those who have been sentenced to death have not to fear. This is indeed forestalling the spear thrusts of fortune. So begin, my dear Lucilius, to follow the custom of these men, and set apart certain days on which you shall withdraw from your business and make yourself at home with the scantiest fare. Establish business relations with poverty. Dare, O my friend, to scorn the sight of wealth, and mold thyself to kinship with thy God. For he alone is in kinship with God who has scorned wealth. Of course I do not forbid you to possess it, but I would have you reach the point at which you possess it dauntlessly. This can be accomplished only by persuading yourself that you can live happily without it, as well as with it, and by regarding riches always as likely to elude you. But now I must begin to fold up my letter. Settle your debts first, you cry. Here is a draft on Epicurus, he will pay down the sum. Ungoverned anger begets madness. You cannot help knowing the truth of these words, since you have had not only slaves, but also enemies. But indeed this emotion blazes out against all sorts of persons. It springs from love as much as from hate, and shows itself not less in serious matters than in jest and sport. And it makes no difference how important the provocation may be, but into what kind of soul it penetrates. Similarly with fire, it does not matter how great is the flame, but what it falls upon. For solid timbers have repelled a very great fire. Conversely, dry and easily inflammable stuff nourishes the slightest spark into a conflagration. So it is with anger, my dear Lucilius. The outcome of a mighty anger is madness, and hence anger should be avoided, not merely that we may escape excess, but that we may have a healthy mind. You are doing an excellent thing, one which will be wholesome for you, if, as you write me, you are persisting in your effort to attain sound understanding. It is foolish to pray for this when you can acquire it from yourself. We do not need to uplift our hands towards heaven, or to beg the keeper of a temple to let us approach his idol's ear, as if in this way our prayers were more likely to be heard. God is near you, He is with you, He is within you. This is what I mean, Lucilius. A Holy Spirit indwells within us, one who marks our good and bad deeds and is our guardian. As we treat this Spirit, so are we treated by it. Indeed, no man can be good without the help of God. Can one rise superior to fortune unless God helps him to rise? He it is that gives noble and upright counsel. In each good man a God doth dwell, but what God know we not. If ever you have come upon a grove that is full of ancient trees, which have grown to an unusual height, shutting out a view of the sky by a veil of pleached and intertwining branches, then the loftiness of the forest, the seclusion of the spot, and your marvel at the thick, unbroken shade in the midst of the open spaces will prove to you the presence of deity. Or if a cave, made by the deep crumbling of the rocks, holds up a mountain on its arch, a place not built with hands but hollowed out into such spaciousness by natural causes, your soul will be deeply moved by a certain intimation of the existence of God. We worship the sources of mighty rivers. We erect altars at places where great streams burst suddenly from hidden sources. We adore springs of hot water as divine, and consecrate certain pools because of their dark waters or their immeasurable depth. If you see a man who is unterrified in the midst of dangers, untouched by desires, happy in adversity, peaceful amid the storm, who looks down upon men from a higher plane and views the gods on a footing of equality, will not a feeling of reverence for him steal over you? Will you not say, "This quality is too great and too lofty to be regarded as resembling this petty body in which it dwells"? A divine power has descended upon that man. When a soul rises superior to other souls, when it is under control, when it passes through every experience as if it were of small account, when it smiles at our fears and at our prayers, it is stirred by a force from heaven. A thing like this cannot stand upright unless it be propped by the divine. Therefore a greater part of it abides in that place from whence it came down to earth. Just as the rays of the sun do indeed touch the earth, but still abide at the source from which they are sent, even so the great and hallowed soul which has come down in order that we may have a nearer knowledge of divinity, does indeed associate with us, but still cleaves to its origin. On that source it depends. Thither it turns its gaze and strives to go, and it concerns itself with our doings only as a being superior to ourselves. What then is such a soul? One which is resplendent with no external good, but only with its own. For what is more foolish than to praise in a man the qualities which come from without? And what is more insane than to marvel at characteristics which may at the next instant be passed on to someone else? A golden bit does not make a better horse. The lion with gilded mane, in process of being trained and forced by weariness to endure the decoration, is sent into the arena in quite a different way from the wild lion whose spirit is unbroken. The latter indeed bold in his attack as nature wished him to be, impressive because of his wild appearance, and it is his glory that none can look upon him without fear, is favored in preference to the other lion, that languid and gilded brute. No man ought to glory except in that which is his own. We praise a vine if it makes the shoots teem with increase, if by its weight it bends to the ground the very poles which hold its fruit. Would any man prefer to this vine one from which golden grapes and golden leaves hang down? In a vine the virtue peculiarly its own is fertility. In man also we should praise that which is his own. Suppose that he has a retinue of comely slaves and a beautiful house, that his farm is large and large his income. None of these things is in the man himself, they are all on the outside. Praise the quality in him which cannot be given or snatched away, that which is the peculiar property of the man. Do you ask what this is? It is soul, and reason brought to perfection in the soul. For man is a reasoning animal, therefore man's highest good is attained, if he has fulfilled the good for which nature designed him at birth. And what is it which this reason demands of him? The easiest thing in the world, to live in accordance with his own nature. But this is turned into a hard task by the general madness of mankind. We push one another into vice. And how can a man be recalled to salvation when he has none to restrain him, and all mankind to urge him on? I received great pleasure from your letter. Kindly allow me to use these words in their everyday meaning, without insisting upon their Stoic import. For we Stoics hold that pleasure is a vice. Very likely it is a vice. But we are accustomed to use the word when we wish to indicate a happy state of mind. I am aware that if we test words by our formula, even pleasure is a thing of ill repute, and joy can be attained only by the wise. For joy is an elation of spirit, of a spirit which trusts in the goodness and truth of its own possessions. The common usage, however, is that we derive great joy from a friend's position as consul, or from his marriage, or from the birth of his child. But these events, so far from being matters of joy, are more often the beginnings of sorrow to come. No, it is a characteristic of real joy that it never ceases and never changes into its opposite. Accordingly, when our Virgil speaks of the evil joys of the mind, his words are eloquent, but not strictly appropriate, for no joy can be evil. He has given the name joy to pleasures, and has thus expressed his meaning, for he has conveyed the idea that men take delight in their own evil. Nevertheless, I was not wrong in saying that I received great pleasure from your letter, for although an ignorant man may derive joy, if the cause be an honorable one, yet since his emotion is wayward, and is likely soon to take another direction, I call it pleasure. For it is inspired by an opinion concerning a spurious good. It exceeds control and is carried to excess. But to return to the subject, let me tell you what delighted me in your letter. You have your words under control. You are not carried away by your language, or borne beyond the limits which you have determined upon. Many writers are tempted by the charm of some alluring phrase to some topic other than that which they had set themselves to discuss. But this has not been so in your case. All your words are compact and suited to the subject. You say all that you wish, and you mean still more than you say. This is a proof of the importance of your subject matter, showing that your mind, as well as your words, contains nothing superfluous or bombastic. I do, however, find some metaphors, not indeed daring ones, but the kind which have stood the test of use. I find similes also, of course, if anyone forbids us to use them, maintaining that poets alone have that privilege. He has not apparently read any of our ancient prose writers, who had not yet learned to affect a style that should win applause. For those writers whose eloquence was simple and directed only towards proving their case, are full of comparisons, and I think that these are necessary, not for the same reason which makes them necessary for the poets, but in order that they may serve as props to our feebleness, to bring both speaker and listener face to face with the subject under discussion. For example, I am at this very moment reading Sextius. He is a keen man and a philosopher who, though he writes in Greek, has the Roman standards of ethics. One of his similes appealed especially to me, that of an army marching in hollow square in a place where the enemy might be expected to appear from any quarter, ready for battle. This, said he, is just what the wise man ought to do. He should have all his fighting qualities deployed on every side so that wherever the attack threatens, there his supports may be ready to hand and may obey the captain's command without confusion. This is what we notice in armies which serve under great leaders. We see how all the troops simultaneously understand their general's orders, since they are so arranged that a signal given by one man passes down the ranks of cavalry and infantry at the same moment. This, he declares, is still more necessary for men like ourselves, for soldiers have often feared an enemy without reason, and the march which they thought most dangerous has in fact been most secure. But folly brings no repose. Fear haunts it both in the van and in the rear of the column, and both flanks are in a panic. Folly is pursued and confronted by peril. It blenches at everything. It is unprepared. It is frightened even by auxiliary troops. But the wise man is fortified against all inroads. He is alert. He will not retreat before the attack of poverty, or of sorrow, or of disgrace, or of pain. He will walk undaunted both against them and among them. We human beings are fettered and weakened by many vices. We have wallowed in them for a long time, and it is hard for us to be cleansed. We are not merely defiled, we are dyed by them. But to refrain from passing from one figure to another, I will raise this question, which I often consider in my own heart. Why is it that folly holds us with such an insistent grasp? It is primarily because we do not combat it strongly enough, because we do not struggle towards salvation with all our might. Secondly, because we do not put sufficient trust in the discoveries of the wise and do not drink in their words with open hearts. We approach this great problem in too trifling a spirit. But how can a man learn in the struggle against his vices an amount that is enough, if the time which he gives to learning is only the amount left over from his vices? None of us goes deep below the surface. We skim the top only, and we regard the smattering of time spent in the search for wisdom as enough and to spare for a busy man. What hinders us most of all is that we are too readily satisfied with ourselves. If we meet with someone who calls us good men, or sensible men, or holy men, we see ourselves in his description, not content with praise in moderation. We accept everything that shameless flattery heaps upon us, as if it were our due. We agree with those who declare us to be the best and wisest of men, although we know that they are given to much lying. And we are so self-complacent that we desire praise for certain actions when we are especially addicted to the very opposite. Yonder person hears himself called most gentle when he is inflicting tortures, or most generous when he is engaged in looting, or most temperate when he is in the midst of drunkenness and lust. Thus it follows that we are unwilling to be reformed, just because we believe ourselves to be the best of men. Alexander was roaming as far as India, ravaging tribes that were but little known, even to their neighbors. During the blockade of a certain city, while he was reconnoitering the walls and hunting for the weakest spot in the fortifications, he was wounded by an arrow. Nevertheless, he long continued the siege, intent on finishing what he had begun. The pain of his wound, however, as the surface became dry, and as the flow of blood was checked, increased. His leg gradually became numb as he sat his horse, and finally, when he was forced to withdraw, he exclaimed, "All men swear that I am the son of Jupiter, but this wound cries out that I am mortal." Let us also act in the same way. Each man, according to his lot in life, is stultified by flattery. We should say to him who flatters us, "You call me a man of sense, but I understand how many of the things which I crave are useless, and how many of the things which I desire will do me harm. I have not even the knowledge which satiety teaches to animals, of what should be the measure of my food or my drink. I do not yet know how much I can hold. I shall now show you how you may know that you are not wise. The wise man is joyful, happy and calm, unshaken. He lives on a plane with the gods. Now go, question yourself. If you are never downcast, if your mind is not harassed by my apprehension through anticipation of what is to come, if day and night your soul keeps on its even and unswerving course, upright and content with itself, then you have attained to the greatest good that mortals can possess. If, however, you seek pleasures of all kinds in all directions, you must know that you are as far short of wisdom as you are short of joy. Joy is the goal which you desire to reach, but you are wandering from the path. if you expect to reach your goal while you are in the midst of riches and official titles. In other words, if you seek joy in the midst of cares, these objects for which you strive so eagerly, as if they would give you happiness and pleasure, are merely causes of grief. All men of this stamp, I maintain, are pressing on in pursuit of joy, but they do not know where they may obtain a joy that is both great and enduring. One person seeks it in feasting and self-indulgence, another in canvassing for honors and in being surrounded by a throng of clients, another in his mistress, another in idle display of culture and in literature that has no power to heal. All these men are led astray by delights which are deceptive and short-lived, like drunkenness, for example, which pays for a single hour of hilarious madness by a sickness of many days, or like applause and the popularity of enthusiastic approval which are gained and atoned for at the cost of great mental disquietude. Reflect therefore on this, that the effect of wisdom is a joy that is unbroken and continuous. The mind of the wise man is like the ultralunar firmament. Eternal calm pervades that region. You have then a reason for wishing to be wise, if the wise man is never deprived of joy. This joy springs only from the knowledge that you possess the virtues. None but the brave, the just, the self-restrained can rejoice. And when you query, "What do you mean? Do not the foolish and the wicked also rejoice?" I reply, no more than lions who have caught their prey. When men have wearied themselves with wine and lust, when night fails them before their debauch is done, when the pleasures which they have heaped upon a body that is too small to hold them begin to fester, at such times they utter in their wretchedness those lines of Virgil, "Thou knowest how, amid false glittering joys." We spent that last of nights. Pleasure lovers spend every night amid false glittering joys, and just as if it were their last. But the joy which comes to the gods, and to those who imitate the gods, is not broken off, nor does it cease. But it would surely cease were it borrowed from without. Just because it is not in the power of another to bestow, neither is it subject to another's whims. That which fortune has not given, she cannot take away. Every day and every hour reveal to us what a nothing we are, and remind us with some fresh evidence that we have forgotten our weakness. Then, as we plan for eternity, they compel us to look over our shoulders at death. Do you ask me what this preamble means? It refers to Cornelius Seneca, a distinguished and capable Roman knight whom you knew. From humble beginnings, he had advanced himself to fortune, and the rest of the path already lay downhill before him. For it is easier to grow in dignity than to make a start, and money is very slow to come where there is poverty. Until it can creep out of that, it goes halting. Seneca was already bordering upon wealth, helped in that direction by two very powerful assets, knowing how to make money and how to keep it also. Either one of these gifts might have made him a rich man. Here was a person who lived most simply, careful of health and wealth alike. He had, as usual, called upon me early in the morning, and had then spent the whole day, even up to nightfall, at the bedside of a friend who was seriously and hopelessly ill. After a comfortable dinner, he was suddenly seized with an acute attack of quinsy, and with the breath clogged tightly in his swollen throat, barely lived until daybreak. So within a very few hours after the time when he had been performing all the duties of a sound and healthy man, he passed away. He who was venturing investments by land and sea, who had also entered public life and left no type of business untried, during the very realization of financial success and during the very onrush of the money that flowed into his coffers, was snatched from the world. Graft now thy pears, Melibæus, and set out thy vines in their order. But how foolish it is to set out one's life when one is not even owner of the morrow, or what madness it is to plot out far-reaching hopes. To say, I will buy and build, loan and call in money, win titles of honor, and then, old and full of years, I will surrender myself to a life of ease. Believe me when I say that everything is doubtful, even for those who are prosperous. No one has any right to draw for himself upon the future. The very thing that we grasp slips through our hands, and chance cuts into the actual hour which we are crowding so full. Time does indeed roll along by fixed law, but as in darkness, and what is it to me whether nature's course is sure, when my own is unsure? We plan distant voyages and long postponed homecomings after roaming over foreign shores. We plan for military service and the slow rewards of hard campaigns. We canvass for governorships and the promotions of one office after another, and all the while death stands at our side. But since we never think of it except as it affects our neighbor, instances of mortality press upon us day by day to remain in our minds only as long as they stir our wonder. Yet what is more foolish than to wonder that something which may happen every day has happened on any one day? There is indeed a limit fixed for us, just where the remorseless law of fate has fixed it, but none of us knows how near he is to this limit. Therefore let us so order our minds as if we had come to the very end. Let us postpone nothing, let us balance life's account every day. The greatest flaw in life is that it is always imperfect and that a certain part of it is postponed. One who daily puts the finishing touches to his life is never in want of time. And yet, from this want arise fear and a craving for the future which eats away the mind. There is nothing more wretched than worry over the outcome of future events. As to the amount or the nature of that which remains, our troubled minds are set aflutter with unaccountable fear. How then shall we avoid this vacillation? In one way only, if there be no reaching forward in our life, if it is withdrawn into itself. For he only is anxious about the future, to whom the present is unprofitable. But when I have paid my soul its due, when a soundly balanced mind knows that a day differs not a whit from eternity, whatever days or problems the future may bring, then the soul looks forth from lofty heights and laughs heartily to itself when it thinks upon the ceaseless succession of the ages. For what disturbance can result from the changes and the instability of chance, if you are sure in the face of that which is unsure? Therefore, my dear Lucilius, begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. He who has thus prepared himself, he whose daily life has been a rounded whole, is easy in his mind. But those who live for hope alone find that the immediate future always slips from their grasp, and that greed steals along in its place, and the fear of death, a curse which lays a curse upon everything else. Thence came that most debased of prayers, in which Mecanassa does not refuse to suffer weakness, deformity, and as a climax the pain of crucifixion, provided only that he may prolong the breath of life amid these sufferings. Fashion me with a palsied hand, weak of foot, and a cripple. Build upon me a crook-backed hump, shake my teeth till they rattle. All is well if my life remains. Save, oh save it, I pray you, though I sit on the piercing cross. There he is, praying for that which, if it had befallen him, would be the most pitiable thing in the world, and seeking a postponement of suffering as if he were asking for life. I should deem him most despicable had he wished to live up to the very time of crucifixion. Nay, he cries, you may weaken my body if you will only leave the breath of life in my battered and ineffective carcass. Maim me if you will, but allow me, misshapen and deformed as I may be, just a little more time in the world. You may nail me up and set my seat upon the piercing cross. Is it worth while to weigh down upon one's own wound and hang impaled upon a gibbet, that one may but postpone something which is the balm of troubles, the end of punishment? Is it worth all this to possess the breath of life only to give it up? What would you ask for Maecenas but the indulgence of heaven? What does he mean by such womanish and indecent verse? What does he mean by making terms with panic fear? What does he mean by begging so vilely for life? He cannot ever have heard Virgil read the words, "Tell me, is death so wretched as that?" He asks for the climax of suffering, and, what is still harder to bear, prolongation and extension of suffering. And what does he gain thereby? Merely the boon of a longer existence. But what sort of life is a lingering death? Can anyone be found who would prefer wasting away in pain, dying limb by limb, or letting out his life drop by drop, rather than expiring once for all? Can any man be found willing to be fastened to the accursed tree, a long, sickly, already deformed, swelling with ugly tumors on chest and shoulders, and draw the breath of life amid long drawn-out agony? I think he would have many excuses for dying even before mounting the cross. Deny now, if you can, that nature is very generous in making death inevitable. Many men have been prepared to enter upon still more shameful bargains, to betray friends in order to live longer themselves, or voluntarily to debase their children, and so enjoy the light of day, which is witness of all their sins. We must get rid of this craving for life, and learn that it makes no difference when your suffering comes, because at some time you are bound to suffer. The point is, not how long you live, but how nobly you live, and often this living nobly means that you cannot live long. As we wrap up this illuminating exploration into Seneca's Letters from a Stoic, it's vital to take a moment to reflect on the transformative lessons that this ancient philosopher has offered us. Today, we've dissected a curated selection of letters that cover an expansive range of topics, from the essence of time to the intricacies of human relationships, from the simple life to our complex inner worlds. These messages, penned nearly 2 millennia ago, provide indispensable guideposts for anyone committed to the journey of personal development and philosophical enrichment. Time is our most precious resource, as discussed in Letter 1 on Saving Time. Seneca urges us to be miserly with our time, to use it judiciously, and to remember that every moment spent is a moment we'll never get back. This isn't just a Stoic idea, it's a universally relevant concept. In an era where distractions abound and the world moves at breakneck speed, learning to manage and value time efficiently is more crucial than ever. Then we move to Letter 4, on the terrors of death, which invites us to explore our mortality. Seneca argues that understanding and accepting the inevitable can free us to live more wholly and more authentically. The idea is not to become morbidly obsessed with death, but to use it as a compass that directs us to live each day with purpose and clarity. Our exploration took us next to the beauty of shared wisdom in Letter 6 on sharing knowledge. Here, Seneca suggests that the knowledge we gain increases in value when we share it with others. In today's interconnected world where information flows freely through social media platforms, blogs, and videos like this one, sharing knowledge isn't just a virtue, but a responsibility we all share. Then we delved into Letter 18, on festivals and fasting, a poignant message about embracing a simpler life. In a society consumed by consumerism, where we often mistake wants for needs, Seneca reminds us of the importance of contentment and voluntary discomfort. This practice enables us to appreciate what we have and prepares us for times when we might face actual discomfort or hardship. In Letter 41, on the God within us, we encountered the notion of the divine quality of human rationality. The idea isn't merely abstract, it's a call to elevate our thinking and actions to reflect our highest potential. Personal development isn't just about skills and achievements, it's about reaching into the depths of our being and bringing forth the innate wisdom we all possess. Our journey also led us to Letter 59 on pleasure and joy, a letter that focuses on the importance of meaningful relationships and true joy as opposed to fleeting pleasures. Seneca distinguishes between superficial happiness and the deep-rooted joy that comes from authentic connections with others, echoing sentiments that are vitally important in an age where social media often seems to drive us apart more than it brings us together. Finally, we examined Letter 101 on the futility of planning ahead. In a world obsessed with planning every minute detail, Seneca asks us to accept the impermanence of life and to adapt to change. This Stoic principle is perhaps the most freeing of all, because it offers a mental framework that can weather any storm life may throw our way. As we draw this exploration to a close, understand that these words and lessons from Seneca are not merely ink on paper or pixels on a screen. They are echoes of millennia, whispers from the past that can still shape the contours of our hearts and minds today. Take one concept, just one, and hold it close to you. Let it stir your soul and guide your actions. For you don't merely listen to Stoic wisdom, you embody it. You are the living, breathing expression of potential, ever on the precipice of profound transformation. Don't walk away unchanged. Make today the day that you felt something awaken within you, a recognition not of who you are, but of who you could become. For if even one letter, One line, one thought, moves you to a life of deeper meaning. Then every syllable has served its purpose. This is your life, a fleeting, priceless tapestry of moments. Don't leave it unfinished. The wisest journey is not to the horizon, but inward, into the uncharted landscapes of your own being. May your journey be your masterpiece.